Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 87, Sidney Crosby.
Ooh.
Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe 2, and this episode is brought to you by Dodge.
No way. Get out of here.
The Dodge Hellcat, if you know, you know. When you have the guts to give drivers 707 horsepower, 650 foot-pounds of torque, and a staggering quarter-mile time, you got the glory of having arguably two of the most coveted cars on the road. Thanks, Dodge, man.
Do you think when Pusha T put out the Daytona album a year or two ago, whenever that was, 2 years ago, and the first track was If You Know, You Know, was that about the Dodge Hellcat?
It possibly could have been. I wonder if Pusha T was, like, on tour at, like, Dodge dealerships doing If You Know, You Know concerts. You know, it's like he's...
Anything's possible. I do know, because if I know, I do know.
If you know, you know. Yeah, and the beat just drops in the background.
All right. Well, welcome back to the show, our Nothing But Time Friday episode. This is Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, once again referenced in Death Proof. I've got more Tarantino connections there.
Oh, cool.
This is also the movie that your dad told us to watch.
Yes.
And we will get into that on the back half of this episode. But, Joe, before we get there, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to since we recorded Fast and Furious 6 with Mr. Brian Rodriguez?
Nothing. I had a super busy week, so I just took, like, a chill weekend. I've been trying to, like, not email anything and, like, look at my... Yeah, I've been, like... I needed a technology disconnect.
Cool.
Like, I needed to detox a little bit. Like, I've been getting, you know, billions of emails every day, all day, so...
So what is there to do in today's society if you're not emailing and you're not on your phone?
We have this dichotomy where there's, like... Talk about essential workers, right? Where, like,
Sure.
some people are working, and then some people have to work via email or Zoom meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a nice in-between place that, like, I'm still doing physical work, and then I'm dealing with a lot of people who are at home sending emails. So, like, I get a million emails, but also I'm at work doing real work, so I can't answer the emails.
So you're in a nice in-between, or you're in the worst of both worlds?
It's the worst of both worlds. Yeah, I was being facetious with the nice in between.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's definitely not good. You know, because people will be like, "Why didn't you respond to this email at 9 p.m.?" And I'm like, "Well, because I was at fucking work for 12 hours today." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
you guys aren't. You're at home, or they're like, "Oh, we'll like have this call at..." Yeah, they schedule Zoom meetings like real late, like 8 p.m. Zoom meetings. I have like
Super cool.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's cool, guys. Fuck my day, right? Like,
Yeah.
like I come home and then like they're like, oh yeah, you have this Zoom meeting. And it's like, well, no, I don't want to do this, like at all. And then my friends were like, oh, this weekend was the draft. I watched a lot of the draft too.
Mm-hmm.
And on Friday, I had like this very long day. I didn't get back to my house till 7 p.m. And my friends are like, hey, like we should do a Zoom call for the draft. And I was like, one, I'm shot. Like I don't want to talk to anyone and like even pretend to be friendly right now. And
Yep.
two, Zoom is the last thing I want to be doing. You know what I mean? Like my whole day is Zoom meeting. So like I get that even if this is fun and my friends and it's going to be like drinking and watching the draft, that like that's not what I wanted to do on Friday at all. I just bailed on that. I was like, no, I'm not dealing
The kind of funny thing, and it's true, is that one of my bosses was saying that she now sees more people in quarantine than she ever did in a normal week because there's so many Zoom meetings, like all day you're just video chatting with people instead of like on phone calls, and so there's so much more focus that needs to be paid. And like we have friends of the show, like Larson and Chris Podcast, who host these movie nights. After a day of Zoom meetings and a day of me working everything, and then like, you know, especially doing all the podcast stuff, I would love to go to these hangouts that they're doing on Twitch and whatever and watch movies and talk to them.
Like
it's
also
like I don't have the energy to do that. And it's like I was saying to Jordan, because Jordan was talking about one of them, and she's like, are you going to go to one? I'm like, no, I haven't gone to one because I'm actually busier now than I was. She's like, how is that possible? And I was like, well, because I'm doing 4 podcasts a week. I'm playing Risk 2 nights a week. I have my normal work amount during the day, and I'm trying to keep up on all the TV shows and everything that I was normally doing anyway. Like, I'm doing more than I was. And she's like, oh, I guess that makes sense. But I think it doesn't compute to a lot of people. Not saying Jordan, because Jordan got it, but like a lot of people are just like,
there's a
I'm just sitting at home.
If you're sitting at home doing nothing,
yeah.
and when this started, I was mostly sitting at home doing nothing, right? Like I was, just going to check into work for, an hour a day or whatever. So I was like, oh, cool, this is fun. But like now, I'm like becoming a shitty friend. Like I don't like fucking read any of the chat. Like I don't want to read chat logs,
Hmm.
like all of these things. So I'm like, dude, all day I'm like answering emails. And like I just can't exert the energy for this, and it sucks. Like I'm excited for this to end. I'm finally like excited for this to end. As much as like I
Wow.
hate
Okay.
people, like I like the no people part of it, but like all the time digital connection part of it is like leave me the fuck alone.
Well, I've got some bad news. I don't think it's ending anytime soon.
I mean, from what I'm seeing, I definitely agree with you. It's fucking miserable, and it's not ending anytime. I mean, hey man, if Bleach comes up with a good injection for it, maybe,
Oof.
maybe it might end soon.
Well, I am sorry to hear all that. I have basically done nothing except for watch TV. Like I
Cool.
watched, like the draft I think was on for what, probably 18 hours or something over
It's
three
three
days,
days.
and
It's yeah. It was like what was it? It was like 7 to like 1 a.m. that I fell asleep.
no, I think it was like 7 to 12. I want to say Friday and
No, it
Saturday,
was
and
later
then
than 12, dude.
maybe 12:30. I don't
No,
know. It was
Thursday.
maybe scheduled.
Thursday night
Oh,
was
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, so Thursday, and maybe I think it was scheduled like 7 to 12 both nights, and then Saturday was 12 to 8.
yeah.
So there were like 18 hours scheduled. I think all 3 days went over a little bit. I had it on the entire time. I didn't pay attention the entire time
Yeah, you don't
because
need to. It's the draft. That's the whole point of it.
exactly.
Which I kind of like.
I kind of not intensely watched, but pretty closely watched most of Thursday night because that's the big names and everything. Even if
Yeah.
I don't follow college football, you know those names.
Yeah.
And then Friday night I did less so, but a decent amount. And then yesterday, by the back half of the 8 hour broadcast, I
Oh,
was like, or 7 hour broadcast or whatever, I was just like, all right, fast forward. Like I would pause and then like wait 2 hours and be like, okay, when do they talk? Oh, there's a Vikings guy. Okay, cool.
I watched like most of Thursday, but like the Steelers didn't have a pick on Thursday, so that didn't really matter. Friday, I definitely watched all of it because I was like, okay, like we had to. I wanted to see what they were gonna do, like what direction they're trying to go. And then Saturday, I put it on at noon, and by like 3, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'll just read them on my phone after this.
Yeah.
Like after like when you get into like the fifth round, it's like okay, whatever. Like
Because we were talking on Saturday morning, you were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch the draft. Like, what else is there to do?" And then like a couple hours in, I was like, Did somebody blah blah blah?" And you're like, "Oh, I already stopped watching." I was like, "Oh, so I guess like there was like a hard pivot there, and like this was gonna be your weekend." Then even you were like, "Nah, I'm good."
no, I mean like I wanted to watch it and like I did watch it, but like once you get past like the I can't force Rachel to watch 8 hours of draft, right? And I had her watch it Thursday and Friday night already.
Oh, I get
Into
it. I get
Saturday,
it.
she's like, this gotta go. You know what I mean? So like by around like 3 on Saturday, I was like, okay, I got through like the first 4 or 5 rounds, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
I mean, it went off really technologically smoothly. I mean, there were like the
Surprisingly.
delays when Trey Wingo would say like, "Hey, what do you got about this guy?" And then there'd be like an 8 second
Hmm.
gap or whatever. But other than that, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. Like, other than that, everything went really, really smoothly.
It
It
was
was cool
cute
seeing inside
too.
people's houses and everything.
It
Like,
was
it was
really
good.
cute. There were so many like, coaches with their kids that were like, there's all kinds of fun kid bloopers now, right? Like, did you see the one guy from
I don't see kid bloopers. There's a couple other things that I did notice at the
yeah.
internet. So there's Cliff Kingsbury, the Cardinals coach, with his like palatial estate in front of the like
Oh,
big grassy area
yeah.
that they were like admiring that. There was the one time where they cut to Belichick's dining room or whatever, and it said head coach Bill Belichick, and it was just his dog in his seat, which was very funny. There was Mike Vrabel, the Titans coach, had like just like weird people in
Yes.
weird outfits on
Yes, I
Thursday
saw
night,
that.
and like
Yeah. There was one that there was a pick. One of the people's kids was like, "No." Like he like put his hands back like I didn't make that pick or like he like didn't like the pick or something and he's like it's like a 7-year-old right in the background like,
oh, there
"Ugh."
was. I think it was maybe Bill O'Brien of the Texans coach was like they showed him like furiously screaming at someone on the phone, and like they thought it was going to be like because he didn't agree with the pick, and then they came out they were like, no, it was actually just because like somebody backed out of a trade or something like that. But it
Oh.
would have been really funny for like to see the axis of like, well, I don't want this guy. Like,
Yeah, what
but
what the fuck
no.
was that pick about?
But I'm very, very happy. I mean, basically, I tweeted something today, and I think you saw it.
Yeah.
There's like they're doing like composites. Like some guy did like a composite of like all these like 8 or 10 different sites of like draft grades for every team, and
Mhm.
they average like a GPA. Shout out high school summer party.
Ooh.
And the Vikings had the highest one. Like the Vikings had such a good draft for not having like super high picks. Like they had two in the 20s. Like they just, it feels like nailed every one of their picks. Like there were other
That's
guys that they
awesome.
probably could have gotten, but like,
And the draft is fun, right? Because it's like you could be excited about the draft now, but like it's a fucking crapshoot. It's like the
oh
lottery,
yeah,
right? So like you can be like, yeah, dude, the Vikings nailed all their picks, and it's like you could have a baseball situation where like I don't wish this on you, but like a bunch of them get injured or they just flop
Well,
or
yeah, I mean,
like
I think what happens with the Vikings is they draft like since the Zimmer era, like since the Rick Spielman Mike Zimmer era, like they have drafted really, really well almost every year, and then either guys get hurt
yep.
or they can't develop things or they
Mhm.
just don't sign people. Like they showed like a stat like the Vikings I think had like 56% or something of their roster was guys that they drafted. Like it's the highest in the NFL. Like they're just really good at like, but they just can't do other. I mean, building an NFL team is really hard, but
I like it. That's
who
that's my
knows?
favorite, dude. I think that like as I get older, I love so much more of the chess about this than the actual game itself.
Sure.
Like when I was a kid, my friends would always talk about like games like Football Manager, which would be like Soccer Manager, right?
Yeah.
And it's like Sims for soccer. Like you would, set ticket prices and like build the stadium and set
Mm-hmm.
concessions and I was like, why would I ever want to play that when I could just like play FIFA, right? And it's like now that I'm older, I'm like, oh man, I'd so much rather just like sim my team, but like get to do all of the like contract
Well, yeah, the,
negotiations
the
and
best part of MLB The Show that we've been doing is that you can play a game, you can do what we're doing in streaming a game, but you can also do what's called quick manage, where basically for every batter when you're pitching or every batter when you're batting, like you can either do like pitch to, pitch around, pitch to contact, walk, or like swing, bunt, hit and run, and like you can do a game in like 3 to 5 minutes. And like I never played Stratomatic, but it's that Stratomatic itch or like the MLB Showdown, like the card game that I played a lot. Like
yes.
it scratches that itch without any of the actual like paperwork, and it just does everything automate. Like everything is it's wonderful.
Yep.
Like it's the best, and like it's the exact same thing. Like you can go in terms of like everybody has like we were talking about before. Like everybody has morale, but it's the same thing. Like I love the managerial aspect
Mhm.
of it, and also I'm not spending 45 minutes or an hour and a half playing a game. It's 3 minutes. And I'm like, cool. My team lost. Like a loss feels bad, but not as bad because it's like I didn't waste an hour. And a win is still like, oh yeah, I won. Like I did something.
Yeah, I love it. I think that that's super cool. The games have gotten so complex
Hmm.
in a good and a bad way. Like one, these games, like especially the sports ones, have like 50 million fucking controls, and
Yep.
like it's just not fun for me anymore. Because you're like, oh, like you have to do like this Mortal Kombat button sequence to do anything, and I'm like, oh, that's not fun. We also have such complex like player stats, right? Like back in the day, we had like speed and like there's like
Yep.
six stats. Now there's like a
Yeah.
million. So like
Hmm.
realistically, like the simulations are good, right? Like it's doing all of this complex math to be like, yes,
Right.
this was a
Yeah.
hit or this wasn't a
Yeah.
hit. So like use that to your advantage. Like let the game
Exactly.
play like the best version of this guy or like whatever he's at right now versus the best version of the pitcher, right? And just like let it sim it out. Like
Yeah.
and you could tell them, yeah, this is really cool. Pitch
Yeah.
outside, whatever you want. Yeah.
I've also watched a bunch of movies. Let me see if there's anything of note. Last night, the HBO movie that debuted was Bad Education by the guy who did Thoroughbreds, which I loved.
And
This movie stars our boy Hugh Jackman from The Greatest Showman.
that's funny. We were just watching music videos from The Greatest Showman the other night.
Oh, it's very good. It's also stars. Oh, it stars Rachel's cousin as well, Allison Janney.
Ooh, shout out Allison Janney.
It's based on the true story. It's very good. It wasn't as stylized as I was hoping because like Thoroughbreds is very stylized, but
Yeah.
I really liked it. I think it's good. I don't know. That's it's not one that I would say you have to rush out and watch.
Yeah.
Then I watched this morning Extraction, which is the new Netflix movie, which is Chris Hemsworth as Thor is in it, and it's an okay
As
movie, but the
Thor?
action is really, really great. No, he's not as Thor, but
Okay.
he is Thor. But it's an action movie where he's just like rescuing a kid who's been kidnapped. A drug lord's kid has been kidnapped by a rival drug lord. He has to go get the kid back. So the movie's okay. The action is great. And then, oh boy, I watched the only other movie that I watched since we last recorded was this movie, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. And so we sort of talked about on here about how like I don't watch trailers, right?
Yeah.
I go into movies as blind as I can. This one I just heard really good things about. And I was like, cool, I'll watch it. What I did not realize is that it's about two 17-year-old girls traveling from Pennsylvania to New York so that one of them can get an abortion.
Ugh.
Oh, like that's a kind of a unexpectedly heavy way
Heavy.
to just spend my Sunday morning. I mean, it was really well done and really well acted, and I'm glad that I watched it. But I was also like, maybe I should read like a little bit about a movie before I watch the movie. But
Yeah.
it wound up being what it wound up being.
I actually watched a really cool movie yesterday. We watched the Apple TV documentary about the Beastie Boys. Did you see
I'm gonna
about
watch that
this?
tonight. Yes,
Dude, it was fucking awesome. It was really cool.
it was supposed to be at South by until South by got canceled.
Oh, they were supposed to do it live at South by, or they were just gonna premiere it at South by.
I don't know. So
Okay.
last year, I think they put up like three like Spike Jones and the two remaining Beastie Boys did
Hmm.
like a live event. I think they did like maybe I want to say like one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan, and one in Philly. And I think they did like those three, and that was it. And there was like $100 ticket. I think we even talked about it in this podcast. It was like $100 ticket, but they didn't say what it was. It was like Beastie Boys story, directed by Spike Jones, and I still don't know what it was. I don't know if they were reading from
Well,
the
you'll
book or
see
if
it.
it's what the movie is or whatever.
You'll see. Yeah, if you watch the movie, you'll get exactly what it was.
We were both like, it's so much money to spend, like, for a thing that I'm probably going to love, but I don't know, have any idea what it is on like a Tuesday night. Like, it's a lot to ask, and so I'm glad that this is finally out because I've been looking forward to it. And I saw Rachel post about it on Facebook,
It's very
and
cool. Yeah,
I'm very excited to see it. But did you really like it too?
loved it, dude. It was like one of the coolest things I've watched since quarantine. I can't imagine that you won't love it.
I mean, I love Spike Jones and I love the Beastie Boys, so
Yeah, I'm very confident that you will really, really enjoy this. So
we'll talk about it on when we do the next episode. But I mean, MCA, maybe talked about it on here. I don't know. But MCA was the first celebrity to die that I felt sad about.
that makes
I
sense.
remember where I was. I was on my cross country road trip, and I was in a national park in Utah, and my friend was in the bathroom. We just walked in the park, and he went to the bathroom. I was just sitting on my phone. I was like, "Oh shit!" And so we did the national park stuff. I came out. I told him, and he was bummed too. But then that night we went to Vegas because it's right there, and we went to some like dance party thing that was like basically like a rooftop, but like in the backyard, and like everybody was just like doing tributes to the Beastie Boys. Like it was the
Very
best
cool.
way to spend it. But like man, like he was the first. I mean, there's only been like a couple since then, like Paul, MCA, Harris Whittles, who's a comedian and writer for Parks and Rec and stuff. Like, there's not been very many that I've been bummed about, but he
Yeah,
was the first one I was like, oh shit, like someone I never saw. He was my favorite Beastie Boy. That he had died in general. That like I was never gonna be able to see them. Like a whole bunch of different things. I was like, man, that's a
just
bummer,
really sucks. Yeah,
real bummer, man.
yeah. I don't get too worked up about celebrity deaths. I can definitely relate. Like I remember like Bourdain hit me pretty hard, right? Like everybody was
Yeah,
kind of
Bourdain
shook
hit a
up
lot
by
of people really hard. Yeah.
yeah, but I was like, damn, dude, like that sucks. Like he just seemed like he was doing such a good guy thing. Like MCA was doing good guy thing. Go ahead, watch the movie. You'll like it. If you're listening, go check it out. I think it was a lot of fun. Gave me a lot. It was an emotional roller coaster for me. So
Yeah, it's the first thing I'm gonna watch on Apple TV Plus because I got the year for free when I got the iPhone.
that's
There's some
right.
shows on there that I want to see, but I haven't gotten to them yet. So this will be the first time that I actually crack open that service. I'm excited to do that.
Cool. Very cool.
I think that's everything that I've done since Wednesday when we recorded.
Yeah.
Just a lot of draft and a lot of TV and stuff. But,
Same.
well, we have a Patreon page here on the show, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleinman, and
And
Brian Rodriguez. Thank you all so very much for supporting us at the $5 level or above.
Brian should have registered as like high school slumber party, so it'd be like shout out to blah blah blah, blah high school slumber party. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I mean, he should have, but that's just poor branding. But we can say Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party.
yes.
I was joking to him and you on Facebook that, like, as I was editing, I was like, this is kind of the best job that we've done. Him being that kind of, like, charismatic, over the top, like, wait, you mean I get this too? And, like, it's kind of our best selling point
He was like
for
the
the
ShamWow
Patreon.
guy. I was telling
I know.
Rachel about it. It was hilarious to me. He's like, "Really, all that too?" And I was like, "You're such an asshole, but this is perfect."
So if you're listening and you have not joined yet, what are you doing? Plus, give us things to watch next lap. You get 2 picks. You
Yeah.
do the $10 a month tier, so
And
look at
Brian's
that.
Brian's taking that with full force based on
Oh,
the
very much so.
based on the things that we've seen him try to pick. He's flexing that muscle as hard as he can.
For sure. He is just like The Rock. He's a raging bicep.
Yeah. Oh.
Shout out to everybody who supports us over there. If you want swag, merchandise, handwritten notes, I'm going to send out Brian's handwritten note this week. If you want to pick things for us to watch, whatever you want, toofast2forever.com. Joe, we also have an email address here, family@cageclub.me, and we have 3 emails
Oh,
today.
cool.
First email from Justin Kleinman, subject line, I caracoles. Haycaracoles.
What is that?
Justin says, I was just listening to the My Cousin Vinny episode where Wells brought up escargot.
Yes.
While I haven't had that, I have had caracoles, the Spanish snail tapas dish. I would highly recommend it. It was caracoles season in Spain. We were there in July 2017. Bars everywhere had signs saying, I caracoles, which means there are snails. He says it's basically snails boiled in a broth. You pluck them from the shell with a toothpick.
Okay.
They're like a chewy consistency and have just the flavor of the broth. It took some time, but we got our son Hank, who was 7 at the time, to try it. He didn't hate it, but he decided to stick with bread and olives. Anyway,
Oh.
back to the podcast to hear the rest of Wells's quote random thoughts. Stay well, Justin.
We always love listening to Wells's random thoughts. That's cool though, and that's a pretty adventurous 7-year-old you got there, right? He said 7.
Yeah.
Even olives, man. Shot. Good job, Dad. You want to fix Rachel's palate too while you're at it?
Oh, that's a lot of work. I think she's a lost cause. He put in here. He sent. There's like basically you get them in a glass. They don't look appetizing.
Oh no, but it's like it's
I
yeah,
mean, they don't look bad, but it's just like there's just a bunch of snails in a broth in a glass, in like in a pint glass.
yeah, and you just like scoop one out, toothpick it off. I think it'd
Yeah.
be pretty cool. You know what? I would try it. I'm not like opposed to trying it, and this actually would probably be a really good way. This actually looks. This kind of looks a little appetizing to me. Yeah, it looks interesting. Like I would eat it. Do you ever like? But you don't eat a lot of stuff, right? This looks a lot like
No, it's
clams.
not like I don't eat a lot of stuff. I just don't really do seafood.
That's what I'm saying. So like this looks like very clams to me.
Yeah, I don't know that snails are really seafood, but I feel like they're adjacent enough that I'd be like, this doesn't really
Shelled.
do it for me.
Yeah.
Although I did have scallops at the draft because we had our fancy little roped off section. They were good. So
Oh
no,
yeah.
none of the scallops. None of the scallops. I had shrimp, which I thought I didn't like.
That's funny. You and Matt have done this too. He hated. He was like, "I don't like shrimp," and we're like, "You're a fucking idiot." And then he was like,
Well, no,
"It's not that bad."
I had shrimp when I was little, but I think I don't know. I didn't like the consistency. I didn't like the texture of it. But these were smaller.
Were they
Who
breaded,
knows?
fried, or cocktail?
No, they were just shrimp cocktail.
Oh, dude, I fucking love shrimp cocktail. If you get like really huge ones, oh my god. Scallops are fire too.
These are baby ones. That's what I was saying. Like I think I like the
Oh.
smaller ones because they weren't as like big and squishy.
Huh. And scallops are like one of my favorite seafoods. The only thing is that they're just expensive. You can overcook them, but like, dude, frying scallops, like I could eat mountains of scallops. They're the filet mignon of the ocean. They are delightful. They're just like buttery and just like
One of the funniest podcasting memories that I have is that when we were doing Tub Talk and our intro episode, which wound up being 40 minutes because it was us sort of introducing ourselves, but also talking about the 5 favorite things that we had for, I think, for 2018.
okay.
I love this music. I love this movie. I love this show, whatever, all sorts of different media. And then another guy did the same thing. And then that third friend was just like, my first thing is these big ass scallops that we bought. We're just like that doesn't feel like it's right in the spirit of it all. But like one of his favorite things of the year was these gigantic scallops that he bought at
Dude.
this farmer's market near his house. And I just think every time I think of scallops now, I think of him just talking about how much he loved those. It's very funny to me.
If you love scallops, a really big scallop would be way up there. like,
Yeah.
like it's like I saw it and I just like started salivating. Like right now. I mean, like I was thinking about it. I was like, oh damn, I would love me some big ass scallops right now.
Our next email from Jerry Robinson, subject line,
What's up, Jerry?
finally got to see my ride or die.
What's up, Jerry? How's it going, man?
What's up, fellas? It's truly been a while. Hope you guys are staying safe. I'm still keeping up with you guys since I'm all caught up. Last weekend, I finally got to see my girlfriend, but since we
Good.
had to be apart, it was fun. We had a lunch picnic with food about 10 feet apart, which, even though that sucked, it was great to just see her.
It's cute. I like it. That's a really cute idea too. That's a cute little date thing, and you could like sit on a blanket across the grass or whatever. You know, like
This actually reminds me, this is something we were talking about on Facebook, and it's going to start, not depressing, but like as me complaining about something, but that's going to ramp into me liking something.
go ahead.
But during the draft, from someone, I never watch live TV, which means I never watch commercials. Like everything I watch is TiVo,
Dude,
and I just
I know
do it
where
after
you're
the fact,
going
or I
with
watch on
this.
Hulu or HBO
God.
Go or whatever, right? So there's
Yes.
never commercials. Suddenly having 18 hours of commercials, number one, awful. But number two, commercials are so sad now.
Dude.
Every commercial is depressing.
I can't take it. Yeah, so we were talking about this. I was saying that I know everybody's like thinking about Corona all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm literally working with it. So when I come home and then like I'm watching like live TV, like Sling or something, and all the commercials are like, "These are your healthcare workers and stuff." I'm like, I know these people. I see them. I don't want to think about like, can you just make a normal commercial, please? Like
Right.
now's the time to bring back like the Budweiser commercials or something.
And every food commercial is like, yes, we're doing delivery and it's contact free. Please, patron. It's just like it's the same. Everything's the same commercials. Either
It
showing
is.
nurses, or it's like we know that you don't have money right now, but you still want a car, so here's no interest financing or whatever.
Or like, look what our company gave money to. It's a lot of that too. It's like, oh, we donated $1 million to like these things, and it's like, yeah, cool, you should.
The one thing that did make me smile every time I saw it, which is what Jerry reminded me of, is that like they were showing basically grandparents looking at a kid sort of taking his first steps through a window, and like those are like I think those moments are really sweet. Like the families, like it's sad, but like there's something still beautiful about that.
Yes.
And maybe that's just like by comparison to the rest of it, where I'm like I can't see this anymore. but like there's something very sweet about the still trying to make lemonade out of lemons, and like we can't be together, but we can still have a 10 feet apart picnic or whatever. Or
Yes.
like I can't hold my grandson, but I can watch him take his first steps through a window, and I can still be there for it, right? So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have to keep living. So, and I do like the heartwarming ones, but you're right. It's been getting like at the beginning of this, we weren't like at that wave where they had made the commercials yet, and like now we're hitting the point where like all of those commercials are out or have come out. So now you just see like every commercial is a coronavirus commercial. It's like, God, please stop. Like, I just don't want to see this anymore.
there's a lot of shows that obviously are stopping production and then they're going to return, right?
Yeah,
It's weird to watch shows now where like it's happening quote unquote in modern day, but like people aren't quarantined
yeah,
because
you've
they
said
made these
this.
shows 6 months ago or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are shows going to address this? On the one hand, you kind of have to because it's big, but on the other hand, like say in 6 months or 12 months or whenever, right? Like we're back at work, we're like finally, that's behind us at least for now. Like things are going to be irrevocably changed, but like life is mostly back to normal, right?
Yes.
Are you going to want to the same point you're
No.
making, you're going to want to go home and then be like, okay, let me turn on my favorite comedy. Oh, they're talking about quarantine. Like, I feel like that's kind
Nope.
of like a weird PTSD, right?
Yeah, I'm like I was just thinking like imagine if The Office was still on TV, right? They'd probably like have an episode where they were like, "This is what happened in quarantine," and you're like, oh, "I get it, but like I don't want to watch it. Like I don't want to think about this anymore."
So there's two shows. There's one that I was thinking about that I still would like to see what they do, and then there's another show that I have not caught up on yet, but I was listening to an interview with one of the stars. But the one show that I think would do it really well, or could do it really well if they choose
Hit
to,
me.
is High Maintenance on HBO,
Never
which
seen
is
it.
the anthology show about a weed delivery dealer. But
Oh,
more than that, it's mostly just a show about New York. Like it captures the city in a way that no other show or another movie has ever done. Like it's beautiful. Like it captures the
cool.
people, the culture, everything about it. It's wonderful.
Okay.
And because every episode is different, and there's like some vague continuity, but not really, not important continuity, they could do an entire season about it if they wanted to. I don't know that they're going to. I don't know that anybody wants to relive it, but I feel like
Weed delivery services during quarantine. I think that would be kind of amusing, right?
yeah.
I'm sure that there's a lot of fun time stories that's happening. So
But then I was listening to an interview with Lauren Ash, who was on the show Superstore. Do you know Superstore on NBC?
I feel like I've seen commercials for it, but I never watched it.
It's like a workplace comedy that they're basically working at like a Walmart type store.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I've seen commercials for it, watching other stuff.
And she was saying that a lot of people on Twitter are messaging all the stars and being like, "Are you going to talk about quarantine?" And she was saying like, "I don't really like, we don't really want to or whatever." But to tell a story about like what it's like to essentially work in a Walmart type store
Hmm.
now, there's a lot of stuff there that like if a show did like it kind of makes sense for them to do it. Not that they want to, not that you want to see it, but like it would make sense if they go that route.
They could do it really well too. You know what I mean? Like even if it's like a comedy, like you could really like champion the workers of the store in this episode. Like I think this
Yeah.
would be a really cool thing to be like, look, like we're fucking slammed, and like you could do something fun with that. I don't think that every show should address it, but if you were doing like a show about like that you essentially work in a Walmart, I think that that would be like one that I'd be like, okay, you could take an
Like
episode of
there's a
that.
reason for it.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's just like you just did it just because it was there.
I did see somebody put on Instagram 90 Day Fiance like they're self quarantining with their couple or something because
They
like
do.
as COVID spreads, it's like oh boy,
There's a
whoa,
whole new season of 90 Day Fiance that's coming out called like Quarantine. It's about 90 Day Fiance is a fucking shit show, dude. I've watched too much of it, and there's like a whole bunch of spin-offs. There's like 90 Day the other
yes,
way, and then before
yep.
the 90 days, and after the 90 days. It's good brain mush. The Quarantine one, I was like, and they like, dude, they were running commercials for it like the first week of quarantine. They were already like, yeah, we're about it. Like this is what we're
Yeah.
gonna do. They were like the first one on the jump. So I haven't watched it yet, but I'll definitely check it out because those people are messy.
Are you guys watching Live PD still? Because I wonder what Live PD is like in the middle of quarantine.
Oh, Rachel has put it on, and it's a lot of reruns. I don't think that they're doing
Okay.
live PD now. They do like because obviously they do one like every Friday or Saturday or whatever. So
Right.
like they have like a million of these fucking episodes, and they're all like 6 hours long. So they just like on Friday you could just watch. It'll be like March 20th and all this stuff. So
I saw Live PD was trending on Twitter over the weekend, but I didn't click on why.
maybe they had a new one. I mean, anytime Rachel's put it on, it's been reruns like the highlight ones. So
I don't know. Jerry continues. He says, I don't know if you guys have had it, but it's called Kinders or Kinders, Kinders,
Kinder Kinder
Kinder,
eggs,
Kinder's
chocolates.
Barbecue.
Oh no, I've never had Kinder's barbecue. I thought you were talking about Kinder eggs, like the chocolate guys. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
Kinder's Barbecue. They make like rubs, sauces, and marinades.
I'm a huge barbecue head. You know that. I actually am like out of the loop on this kind of stuff because I make a lot of my own. So like I make my own sauce and rubs. So people will always be like, "Did you ever try this rub?" And I'm like, "I would like to," but then at the same time, I'm like, "Why am I gonna buy a rub when I just like make it?" You know? So
Well, knowing that Jerry lives in San Francisco, I was wondering if it was local to San Francisco, but I just put in my zip code on there, and like, it's not everywhere around here, but there's a bunch of stores within 10 miles that have,
oh
like, six
cool.
stores within 20 miles. So, like, it's not everywhere here, but there's stuff that I could go if I wanted to try it. So, Jerry, if you have any
It looks
recommendations of
good.
specific sauces or rubs, let me know.
This roasted garlic sounds interesting. I could get down with that.
He says he doesn't have a subscription to The Athletic, and he's very interested in the 30-day trial. Is that offer still going on?
Yeah, let's check it out on my. It was kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like you've still been reading it, I've still been reading it. It's a little different right now.
They did really, really good draft coverage. Like they
Dude, they're
had
the best
write-ups for
draft
every,
coverage.
like the first at least two, if not three rounds. Plus, like the Vikings took a quarterback in the seventh round, just I guess, who like it seems like he's never going to be like a star, but like could be like a serviceable backup for like a long time. And like they had a write-up about him too. So like they did a really good job of draft coverage. They're trying to figure out how to cover sports when there's no sports on, but like especially for the draft, it was almost like they're like, "Thank you, finally we have something to write
Yes.
about."
And the writers are great. So yeah, they still got the thing. I'll send you the link. You'll already have it before this episode comes out there,
Yeah,
Jerry.
send it to me and I'll send it to Jerry.
I love the Athletic, and you're right. It's a great time. I mean, like I said, normally, like when there's sports on, they're writing a lot more. They do excellent draft coverage. I really like it. You know, as a big hockey fan, the hockey guys do really good hockey draft coverage as well, and like putting together like highlight reels and stuff, which is kind of difficult for hockey because like a lot of these kids will be like Swedish, right? So they'll be like playing in like some random Swedish league, and you're like, why did my team draft this guy? And you're like, oh, this is why. Like they put together a highlights clip for you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that like the Korean baseball league has reopened, and like people like in our baseball league, in our fantasy baseball league, people are like, "Should we play this?" I was like, "No, I'm not addicted to fantasy sports. I want to like, I
Yeah.
don't want to learn who these guys are. Like that doesn't do anything for me. That sounds the opposite of fun."
Yeah, you want to be involved in a sport that you're kind of watching already, right? So like
Yeah,
that's
like
the
I already don't watch college football and college basketball really because unless like it's the playoffs because like
yeah.
I don't want to get invested in a team where players are going to be gone in 2 or 3 years. Like
It's a fascinating part of it, but it's also a frustrating part, right? And
right.
if he's like really good, you only got him for like 2 years.
To go to a league where like you might know two players, like if it's like some former MLB guy like, trying to revitalize his career by playing in the KBO, like no,
Yeah.
thank you.
No thanks. I agree. And the games are probably on at some like wacky times. You can't really watch them anyways. It's like just make a fucking just do it on MLB the Show, the game.
Even if people aren't liking this the way that I'm liking this, I think only one other person is like this is scratching the itch for me because it's the players we know. It's literally our teams. We're playing each other. Like I don't know what more other than real baseball. Like what could be better than this? Like it's I'm not comparing the two, but like
Yeah.
I literally do not know a better substitution than watching
It's
essentially
almost
real
perfect.
baseball.
It's almost perfect. I don't get it. I'm with you, brother. I wouldn't be trying to play Korean baseball fantasy leagues.
Yeah, no, thank you.
No.
Jerry says when you're talking about jerry cans, do you remember the gasoline can?
Yeah.
He says he was flipping out since it was from Germany and with his name, and he was born in Germany.
Very, very cool.
So he's our jerry can.
He is the Jerry can. I like it.
He says in episode 82, you guys are trying to figure out who was in the cars at the end of 4 and the beginning of 5. He says Brian was in Dom's Charger, Mia was in the beautiful NSX, and
That's
Rico and
right.
Tego were in the Pontiac Trans Am arguing as usual.
I remember now Mia does have that NSX, which is really
Well,
fucking
we knew
cool.
Mia, but we couldn't think of the third car, and he's saying it's Rico and Tego.
Makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
So thank you, Jerry, for writing it. And the last email from someone we've not heard from in a long time, Mr. Ben Milliman.
What's up, Ben? How are you doing, bud?
Subject line: Been busy.
Okay.
Hey guys, as I'm catching up, it's been pretty crazy lately. He says, I don't remember if I already said it, but I hope everyone in the Fast family is being careful and safe. Thankfully, Lenny is able to work from home, but I still
Cool.
have to be out and about fixing heaters and leaks.
Oh yeah, he's like super essential.
Yeah.
I was just listening to the radio on my local radio like classic rock station as I was driving to work, and they were calling in and they were like some HVAC guys call in and they're like, dude, like it's fucking slammed. Like people's heaters are still breaking and they're home more. Like, it's really rough out here for us. Like, we have to go into these houses. Like, we can't really social distance. Like, people are weird. We're weird. Weird about the situation, not that they're weird.
No, yeah, like my kitchen sink, the day of my draft clogged, and I had to undo it, and like I thought I cleared out the clog, and then it was leaking, and I like my dad came over, and like we thought we got it, and then it leaked again, but like it's fine, like it's manageable. Like I just can't leave the water running for forever. I'm like I don't want a plumber in my house. Like this is not an emergency. Like it's annoying, and I have to
Yes.
like be careful, but like
And you
I'm
have like
not
a
going to call a
bucket
plumber
underneath
over.
it. It's just
Right.
stupid, but you're like, oh, fuck, okay.
Any other circumstance, I'd be like, yes, please come over, please fix this. But now I'm just like, I can wait. I can just like not run the dish, like let the dishwasher run, let it drain for like half an hour, and then I'll use the sink. Like it's just
Yep.
like I'm doing this like weird in between because I'm like I just don't want because I don't need to have someone in my house, right?
Yep,
So
exactly. Hang in there, brother. Hang in there, Ben. Thanks, man.
I'm very careful about being in people's houses, and we won't go into homes if someone is sick. I had to wear a hazmat type suit to work in one person's house.
Oh,
It's been crazy.
fuck,
I
dude.
thought we'd be really slow at work because of it, but I guess people still need work done, which is what you were just saying.
People actually probably need more of these things done now because, like, they're home, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you were at work 8 hours a day, you probably wouldn't notice that your heater wasn't working perfectly or your water or whatever.
I mean, it's the same thing in a similar way, I guess, to like the toilet paper that everybody gets that comes from kind of two places, right? There's like the residential toilet paper factories, and there's commercial toilet paper factories.
Yeah.
And like, no one is using bathrooms in public, like, relatively speaking, right? Like, I know that people are still at work, where it was, say, it was 50-50 split. Now it's like 80-20 or 90-10 or whatever. And
Yep.
like, all that cheap, disgusting sandpaper toilet paper isn't being used or distributed because like it's not going to resident like it's not I guess graded for residential or whatever, so like the imbalance is like swinging everything that like certain things like
Yep.
HVAC guys at home just there's more to do. I'm sure if you're like an HVAC guy who mostly does like businesses, like you're probably like bored out of your mind because like people are
Or
still
the
working, but
same, right? I'm sure business is still like big businesses, right? Like if you had a university that you work at or something.
I guess, but like even then, like I think that there's still far fewer people there. I don't
Yeah.
know. Ben says, on another note, I'm going to be a dad in less than 2 weeks unless she's born before you get this email. So he sent this
Ooh.
email yesterday, overnight. So I don't think, unless Lindy gave birth in the last like 16 hours, who
Well,
knows?
well, I would love to find out when it happens. Please let
Yeah.
us know.
Says, I'm not sure if I told you her name, which he has not. So we want to know when it happens, but her name is going to be Lila, Lilah, Rose Milliman. Lila Rose Milliman.
I like that name. That's cool. I have a Layla at work, and I
I
really
mean, it's
enjoy
not
that name
Mia.
too.
It's not Mia Leticia Milliman, but, it'll
Yeah,
do.
could have been Giselle, could have been Mia. So you really flubbed this one there, Ben. But cool, I guess.
I found out the other day that I'm going to have to keep my protectiveness for my family in check when it comes to her. My coworker was asking when she was due, but he phrased it like, when is the kid due? He said in a normal, not rude tone, but for some reason, him calling her the kid made me have this whole body anger type feeling, and the thought I had was to walk over, grab him by the hair, punch him in the face, and tell him her name is Lila, she will be born in May, and punch him again. I did not do that, and it freaked me out. That was my first reaction.
You're very nesting here going on.
My stepdad told me it was normal, but it felt like a little bit of an overreaction to me, so I'm going to make sure I keep that in check, lol. I bought her a die-cast version of Mia's car in the first movie. I'm pretty excited to get it in. I'm also planning on buying more.
That's super cute. I mean, hey man, we're all in a high stress situation right now. I'm sure that you're like really ramped because, pregnancy, wife, and corona and still working a ton. And plus like, it's a natural biological evolutionary thing that you're protective of your children, right? So like that's a real thing. I'm sure that you felt weird about it, but like it's real, man. There's a reason why.
If you're not a good dad, Dom's going to kick your ass, so. He says, so I wanted to talk about Carly Rae Jepsen.
Okay.
I'd never really heard any of her music except for Call Me Maybe.
Yes.
If I don't know or like an artist or that type of music, I make it a point to listen to it to try and understand what's good about it. I've actually expanded my music taste greatly by doing this.
Cool.
So I started listening to her stuff, and I have to say, I think she's really good. I even got Lenny to start listening to her music. Well, thank you so much.
Well, Joey loves Carly Rae, so
Oh boy. Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure you have, because she doesn't have a lot of music out there, but the Emotion album, the Dedicated album, and then the song Cut to the Feeling, which is from some animated movie. That's like the must have. Two
yeah.
albums and a song, so.
No, people do love her. Like, and you and Chris Podcast are like, nah, dude, she's actually really good. Like, she's making good music.
And one of our two guests next lap, Nico, is all about her too. So yeah, people. I mean,
No, I have a few artists like this that I agree with you in. Like, I'm not listening to Carly Rae Jepsen. I probably won't, not because like I'm boycotting it or anything. It's just like it just doesn't seem like it's on my radar. But like people like Lily Allen, I fucking love Lily Allen.
Call Me Maybe was obviously what brought her to fame, and that's why for a while I was just like the Call Me Maybe girl. But they like listen to this, and like it's such an perfect like '80s synth pop, synth wave
Yep,
throwback vibe that like man, it scratches that itch for me.
cool.
So I'm glad you like her, Ben. And I'm glad Lenny's listening too. He says, I think that's it for now. I noticed every time I go to write an email, everything I wanted to put in there leaves my mind once the email is open. LOL. Keep it up, and I will try to write again soon.
Hang in there, Ben. Thanks for still taking care of people, man. And good luck to Lenny and you. And let us know when the baby comes, please.
Not the baby, Lila Rose.
So
Don't say the kid.
I didn't say the kid. I said let us know when the baby arrives. I think that's a lot more gentle than
Her
what's
name
the
is
kid do?
Lila.
When's that fucking kid do?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. All right. That's all the emails that we have. If you want to email us, family@cageclub.me, let us know what's going on. Check in, send in your rankings, just say hi. Family@cageclub.me. Joe,
Please.
on the streets, Fast and Furious news, there's two things.
Okay.
One thing that Mr. Mike Manzi, the resident historian, the Mikester, sent in, and then one I just found via Google Alerts. But is there anything that you've seen news-wise in the last couple days?
No, nothing interesting. Nothing out of the ordinary. I think they like announced the release date. I think Jason sent us a thing that they said like this is the official release date next year in April or whatever.
No, we knew that. We knew that, though.
Okay, cool.
This is from the Mikester. Future Lego movies could include Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, and Minions.
Interesting. That would make a lot of sense. I mean, like I was saying, we were buying Lego sets, and they're doing a lot of like they have Fast and Furious ones, right? And they have Fast and the Furious like adjacent ones, like the double charger pack that Rachel built is like this is clearly a Fast and the Furious set, right? But like it just
Yeah.
doesn't say it on it. Yeah, that's really cool.
Because what happened, this is something that past guest Walt Hickey put on Twitter as well, is that Lego, who had a partnership with Warner Brothers, signed a 5-year deal with Universal. And so basically they can have like kind of cross promotion or whatever where they can just use Universal's properties, or they can team with
IP.
Universal and Universal Studios,
Yeah.
including Fast and Furious, Jurassic Park, whatever, to do this kind of stuff.
Well, that's genius. I mean, they're like huge deals, right? So it would make sense. And they're making a ton of Jurassic Park sets right now too. I feel like Harry Potter too, that they do a ton of sets of. It's a good matching, I think.
Well, now, I mean, now that they left Warner, they might not do any more Harry Potter,
Oh, interesting.
right? So they go from one to the other.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Do you want to see Dominic Toretto and the Bandit race each other in a new Lego movie? Or maybe a meetup of the Jurassic Park and the Mummy characters, the Insidious crew crossing paths with Casper? Sound off in the comments.
Ooh,
Cool.
interesting.
The other thing is, and this is dumb, I just wanted to send this to you. This is what the Fast and Furious movies would be like if the main cars were replaced with Model Ts.
What?
So they just they replaced
This is
car pictures in all the movies with Model Ts.
for third world country child that made this for 35 cents.
Yeah, it's not good, but it's just like it
It's
was something that I saw. Like
it's
Jalopnik
wacky.
is like
I kind
a
of like it.
Jalopnik's, pretty reputable car site, and then for them to be like, I can't only say I'm a huge fan of the Fast and Furious series of movies, which seem to be all about a group of strangely superhuman meatheads. You know what might make me like them more if they had Ford Model Ts? Yes. Let's take a moment to imagine what it would be like if these movies were populated with spindly, black, 20 horsepower Tin Lizzies.
Yeah, these are kind of funny. I like the one of like Han's car drifting around the other car. Like they leave the girl's car in it, but then change Han's car into a Model T here.
Yeah, like these are terrible photoshops.
They're really bad. They're definitely really bad photoshops.
If you're interested in that, go to Jalopnik. You can find that on there. That's all the news. That's not even news. Like
Yeah.
it's just a thing that I saw.
That's cool.
Rock the vote now. I'm gonna look for the Rock president on Google News. Let's see if there's anything else here. So got that Jim Ross the Rock thing.
Yes.
Nothing there. And Dwayne Johnson president. No, nothing else. So I don't think, still as of now, Dwayne Johnson running for president this year, but maybe in 4 years, who knows. I was also thinking yesterday, I guess, that like it doesn't feel like an election year. It feels like so much other stuff has happened that like
Yeah.
for there to be an election in 6 months or 7 months or whatever, it's just like, oh, like it's like I'm already exhausted. Like I'm everything's exhausting. Everything's exhausting.
Yep.
Well, Joe, the last thing we have to do, the Fast and the Furious minutes, minute 54, the minute I called, kiss my shoes.
Warehouse. There's a warehouse, man.
Ted, kiss my shoes. Let's go get our engines.
My superiors are flying in from D.C. day after tomorrow. I want something to show. Now we have a top echelon fence with a lube hose in his mouth, automatic weapons, a jacket full of priors on every one of these Asian punks, a garage full of DVD players, and generally psychotic behavior. And tell me why we shouldn't move on Johnny Tran right now and see where we are when the dust settles.
Because all we have is behavior. Just let me get some hard evidence, because what we have now is...
So in this minute, Ted tells Johnny Tran where his missing engines are. Johnny Tran kicks Ted. Then he and his crew roll out. We then cut back to the LAPD safe house where Bilkins, Tanner, Muse, and Brian... Oh, by the way.
Yo, say it.
The Raiders drafted a guy named Tanner Muse, a safety named Tanner Muse in the 3rd round. And I sent this to you, and
I didn't
it took
catch
you a
it.
second. And I was like, what is going on? And then I sent you the clip from the document, the minute document, which is in minute 36. A safety named Tanner Muse, and there are cops in the first movie named Tanner and Muse. Like, if this is not a sign that we watch these movies too much, that my brain is broken, I don't know what is.
Yeah, you're way shot. Like, I wouldn't have caught it. Like, I would have never made that connection, but it's beautiful, and I'm glad that you did.
Because, like, what I'm really, like, the thing that excites me most about the minutes now is when we learn when we're introduced to a new character with a name that I can look up on IMDb, like Ted, or, like, the one before that was probably Muse, and, like, that's such, like, a weird, cool name, and, like, I don't know that it's ever, like, he maybe says it once in the movie, right? Like, it's almost never said. Nobody knows Muse's name is Muse.
Or Tanner.
And yet, in my brain, and Tanner even, yeah, it's like Bilkins, and there's, like, it's like, and even Bilkins, like, most people, you know what I mean? Like, Muse is the 3rd tier cop there who only gets the cappuccinos, right? Like, he's in the scene that we're watching now, and, like, he's just standing there because, like, they want another warm body in the room, right? Like,
yeah.
But I know in my brain there's Tanner and there's Muse, and the Raiders draft a guy named Tanner Muse, and I was like, whoa.
Dying. I love it.
Whoa. And also, like, he's too old. Like, he was born before this movie came out, so, like, it's not like he was, not that he would ever, not that anyone would ever name their kids after 2 cops in the Fast and Furious, even if your last name was Muse. But, like, he couldn't even have been because he was born before this movie, so.
Dude, I think that my next set of cats will be Tanner and Muse. That will be a really good, people will be like, does that mean anything? Did you just like those names? It's like, oh no, those are the other cops in Fast and the Furious. They're like, oh, like Bilkins, or like whatever. And you're like, no, not Bilkins, like the other cops.
You should get 2 other cats and name them Gallo 12 and Gallo 24. Come here, Gallo 12. Come here, Gallo 12. Come here.
12, 12E, 2, 4, 2, 4.
2-4. So anyway, we cut back to the LAPD safe house where Bilkins, Tanner, Muse, and Brian discuss going after Tran. Brian wants to wait until he gets more evidence. And for the first time in a long time, this minute ends kind of in the middle of a sentence.
Yes, it does.
What are your big takeaways from minute 54? First of all, do you like the name Kiss My Shoes, and what are your big takeaways
Absolutely.
here?
I think you nailed the name. That's
cool.
Perfect. I looked around and got all the stuff on the counter. We did most of Tran's garage, so it was a little bit redundant there. So I was like looking on the counter because it was a new, fresh place to record some stuff. They definitely had a donut box. I saw another box like down the counter. It looks like a pizza box. So I think that they had donuts and pizza there. They had a bag open. I couldn't tell like if it was chips or what it was. It actually looks like a bag of salad, to be honest. Like
they have like white, like plain white bags. I don't know if you made the note of this, but on the right counter, there's like
I saw them.
What look like unmarked potato chip bags.
It's like unmarked potato chip bags or like really large bulk of coffee, like like a work size bulk coffee bag, right? Like a 30-pound bag or something crazy.
There's the one thing that is close to our hearts that I highlighted here.
Did you see it?
I saw it the first time I watched it. I was like, oh god, like it's too blurry, I think, to figure out what it is, but it looks like an Arizona iced tea.
It looks like an Arizona iced tea. It looks like Arnold Palmer pink lemonade, right?
Something like that, yeah. It looks like, I mean, it's definitely a tall boy.
Yep.
Also, by the way, have you, I mean, I'm sure with, like, beer cans, you drink more beer cans than me, but, like, I rarely drink, like, soda or beer out of cans. Like, mostly the beer I drink is bottles when I drink beer, and, like, I drink soda. When I drink soda, I drink it out of like a 2-liter bottle or whatever, or like a 20-ounce or whatever. We were talking, like, we did like the whole rundown of like the Arizona iced teas, and like how big the cans are and how thin the metal is, right? In the last couple of weeks, I bought like Coke in cans, and I feel like a giant drinking Coke when like because I'm so used to like the size and like not just the height but like the circumference of the
Yes.
tall boy, and then to have like a Coke, it's just like, oh, like this is like a baby's drink.
Yeah, and they also make the Coke in like the skinny cans now.
Yeah, I've not done those. Those are crazy. That's a whole nother level right there.
The beer cans thing is funny. My one friend came to visit from England and he was staying with me and he brought us some beer. It was really amusing because obviously they don't use some of their beers are like in milliliters and like liters, right?
Okay, yeah.
But they're also like English liters, which is like different. We lined it up and we had like six different sizes of cans in my house at one point. There's
All
because
right.
there's like ones that are like 300 mLs, and then there's like 500 mLs, and then there's like a half liter or like a pint, and then like an English pint is its own pint, right? So like it was just like this fucking. I had like Russian doll setup of beer cans.
Love it.
Like there's like 50 different sizes, and I was like, I never even imagined that the cans would be a different size. And if you're over there, right, and you buy a 6 pack, you don't really notice. Like you would notice that they're a little bit different, but like you can't tell the difference between some of them because they're
Right.
not like next to each other. So it was a wacky experience for sure.
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff on the counters there. I wonder, like, I'm sort of surprised. Not really surprised, but like we jump to the next day here when we go from Trans Garage to this safe house, and like
Yes.
they don't establish where we are. Like we just assume like it's 95% sure that they're in that place, but like it's quick. Like we quickly cut from one place to the other. It's just like, oh, I guess this is what we're doing
No,
now.
but
Like it
we've
feels,
established that the police are working out of there.
yeah, from like 15 to 18 minutes ago, like minutes
Yeah.
36 to 39.
Yes.
I also made note of there are. Remember we were talking about how many different people are in Trans Crew, and you were wondering like, I'm like, where do they go? And you're like, they're probably just like in the office or whatever. So like,
There's one of them behind. Yeah.
there's six behind. You can see six people behind. Two are sitting across from each other reading magazines. Two guys, or there's one guy with his hands on his hips just watching what's going
Standing.
on.
Yeah, I saw him.
Two guys are like on either side of, like one guy's on either side, so there's two total of a motorcycle. And then there's one guy behind sort of watching them or watching that. So like they're just kind of around. Like they didn't really go anywhere. They kind of receded into the background. So
Yeah.
there's still six guys there plus Tran plus Lance plus Ted. So there's nine. I think we're still down one or two from where we quote unquote should be.
Yes.
But we're getting close.
We're getting closer. Yeah.
And then the only other thing real, actually, I made two other notes here. So what's kind of interesting, and I don't know what would have happened here. You know, they just waterboarded Ted, and Ted goes over and he's like, "Kiss my shoes." Then he kicks Ted or whatever, and it looks like Vince is getting antsy, like he wants to do something. And I wonder if he knows Ted or not. But like Dom does like that whole like
Ooh.
lower the volume, like just calm down, like calm, calm, calm. Like it feels like wants to do something, but I don't know why that would happen.
We spent all weekend watching the draft. Vince is just a little bit of like a high motor kind of guy, right? He seems like he's just like always amped. Like he tried to fight Brian over. I think that he just has a lot of anxious energy. So I could see him being like, "I'm gonna go fight these guys now," and it's like, "No, dude, just like relax. Like we need to stay hidden."
I do like that Dom is like the calming influence, calm Dom, right? Just like let's calm, like we're gonna be good. And then the other thing is that when they're in the kitchen and there's Bilkins and Tanner and Muse and Brian. Brian's just in his t-shirt and jeans because he's undercover, but like compared to Bilkins and Tanner, Muse is like casual city. Like he's got his long sleeve shirts like rolled up to his elbows. He's unbuttoned in the front. Like Tanner has like his whole like glasses, like the whole situation that he
Yeah.
always looks. Bilkins is like in the suit with the jacket on, but like Muse is like just he's like hanging out by the pool. Like he almost looks like he belongs. I mean, not that LA is really much more formal than Miami, but it feels like he almost fits more into the Too Fast world than as opposed to this world here.
But you're also like you're working on a case and you're like at the house, so
Who are you trying to impress?
exactly.
Bilkins? I guess probably. You probably should. I mean, he's probably the CEO, so
Yeah.
maybe try to impress a little bit. Anything else of note? Anything else that we want to mention before we try to figure out the trivia question?
On the counter, I noticed they had like an old school kitchen TV, which I don't really see that much anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like people used to, like leave a small television on your kitchen counter.
My grandma had that. My grandparents had that, yeah.
The TV is just fucking filthy. That was just one of the notes that I had. If you see it, it's like I couldn't figure out what appliance it was because I was like trying to think of kitchen appliances. I was like, oh look, it's like a small television. Like I haven't seen that in forever. And then I was like, this thing is fucking.
Yeah,
I just need to wipe it down.
it's a white TV
Yeah.
where the sides are stained like yellow.
Yeah, I'm like, just wipe it off. But okay, whatever.
Because I remember I read your notes before I watch it like the
Oh,
last couple times, and I remember you said something was dirty, and I'm like, look at the microwave. I'm like, that microwave looks clean, but
clean.
like
Yes.
maybe Joe just has like a very maybe he thinks like the microwave's dirty, and then I look to the right, and I'm like, oh no, now I see what he's talking about.
Yeah, this television is fucking garbage filthy.
Do you want to make that the trivia question? Which
Oh
appliance is
god.
filthy and disgusting in the safe house kitchen?
That's a really good one. Yeah, because there's a microwave. Oh, there's a toaster oven too.
Because like I don't know what else the trivia question could be here, and I think it's a very funny thing. Like, why would I ever be looking for that? Like, I don't know. Why are we looking for any of the things that we're looking
Also,
for?
it's like, what's the dirtiest appliance in this kitchen? And it's like microwave, toaster oven, refrigerator, and then television. And it's like, why would the TV be dirt? But it's very dirty, and you agreed. Cool, I like that.
Refrigerator, toaster oven, microwave, television.
Yeah, next time you're watching that minute, go look at the TV. It was like disturbingly dirty.
It's on the right side of the screen, mid right. It's sort of behind Bilkins' back after he turns to talk to Brian. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross.
It is. It looks like it had to come off like the production truck, right?
If they need a new TV, I'm sure that Brian could hook them up with one, right? Like,
I
he
know.
knows a guy.
Exactly. But it just looked like it was like on the production truck, and then like they were like, oh, let's throw this TV in here too to like put stuff on this counter because it was probably like an empty house or whatever, and like they threw that there. So that's why it's probably handled on the hands so much. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, exactly. Any other thoughts about this minute before we take a break?
there wasn't really much in that one.
It's the tail end, like it's another 30. It's basically 30 seconds in each. It's nice. It's nicely split, so there's a nice balance between the two. But like it wraps up the garage, and we already talked mostly about the garage, and now we're just getting to another thing. And like I kind of almost don't even remember this scene, right? Because it's like it just is like okay, we know what we're doing for the rest of the movie, right? Like, it's kind of an
Yes,
important thing, but it's not super exciting.
I agree.
All right, let's take a break. Let's hear another word from Dodge, and let's talk about Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 87, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. This episode is brought to you by Dodge with a 6.2-liter Hellcat Hemi V8 engine in both the Challenger and the Charger. It has upgraded components to withstand the brutal performance. The Dodge Challenger SRT.
Oof.
Shout out Dodge.
Shout out Dodge, indeed. Well, this is one, like we said in the opening, that was referenced a couple times in Death Proof, which we just covered last week.
Yes.
This is one that when you were talking to your dad, he was like, you have to watch this movie. The one thing I learned
Go
that
ahead.
reinforced in this movie is that it feels like all these movies we're watching have like 40 things, like
You said this
traits
and I
and
love
things
it.
that just keep regurgitating. They're like, they shuffle them all up in a hat, and then they pick out like 15 of them. So it's like, okay,
Dodge.
two guys in the car, one's a driver, one's a mechanic.
Yes. With or without a woman, a third wheel woman.
We've got them playing billiards for some reason, riding cop cars off a bridge into water,
Yes. Radio plays an important part.
jumping over off a ledge. We've got them going high low to sort of evade someone, right, or to capture it, to catch up to
That
someone.
the two parallel roads, one high, one low. Yes, for sure.
There's a helicopter. There's so many things in this movie that like we've seen
Train.
elsewhere, like it
Always a
combines
train.
in a different way, but like. Man, like it's not the same. We're not watching the same movie over and over again, but like we're watching from the same pool of DNA over and over again.
Cops. There's a lot of cops.
Before we talk about whether we liked it, so this movie is very, very simple, right?
Yes.
Two guys rob a grocery store,
Yep. That's it.
and
That's
cops
the beginning
chase
of the
them.
movie. Yep. Yep.
What is crazy to me, no pun intended, is that it's Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, but Deke goes untitled. Like, why is Deke not in the title of this movie?
I don't know. And I actually, to be honest, he's probably my favorite character.
It should be like Silent Deke or Angry Deke or just like.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there about that brother.
I mean, the title is great, but like it just feels weird that he gets such short shrift.
I thought that he was gonna get like left out at some point, right? Because the
Yeah.
title, I was like waiting for like Deke to go away, right? Because I'm like Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. Okay, cool. You know, these two are together. That's cool. And then like Deke just like shows up immediately and like doesn't leave. And I'm like, oh, it's not just about like I thought they were gonna like some kind of like backhandedness to him to get rid of him, and then it was
Nope.
just going to be like those two. But no, they
Nope.
just don't title him. So like the
They
title
try to
is
dump Mary at every turn, and she always sticks around because she's like, I feel like they're not dumb. Like, she's played to be dumb, but she's like just smarter than them, right? They're like,
yeah.
okay, Mary, go in there and like go get us food. She's like, cool, got it. And then they drive away. He's like, okay, pull out the map, and like she had taken the map, so like, fuck, we got to go back. But like, it's everything like that where like she's supposed to be this like dumb one, like the dirty one,
Yes.
because she's like this like
Whore.
town whore basically, right?
Yes, yeah.
They don't seem dumb, and she doesn't seem smart, but she's still smarter than they are, and it's a weird dynamic. But like, at like 3 or 4 times in this movie, and this movie's not
She
long, it's like
outsmarts
90
them.
minutes.
Yeah.
They try to like leave her behind, and she's like, nope, can't get rid of me.
Nope.
So, did you like this movie?
I enjoyed it. I think it was a fun movie. It was a little bit different than Two Lane Blacktop, right? It had a lot of the same elements, much more talking. It felt a little bit different. I enjoyed it. My dad, when he told me to watch this movie, he was like, watch this movie. It has a crazy ending,
Oh, okay, which it does.
which it does.
That's another thing. Like Vanishing Point had basically a very similar ending.
The almost identical ending. And now that I heard him say that, I know why he said that, and also that he had never seen Vanishing Point. If he would have said that to me, I'd have been like, oh, you've never seen Vanishing Point then, because it's essentially the same ending.
Yeah, so at the end of this movie, spoilers if you have not seen it, they basically successfully evade the cops. Like I thought like
What?
40 minutes into the movie, a cop
Yes.
is on their tail, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, we're gonna have 50 minutes of a cop chase, right? Like it's like
Yep.
there, here's the cops, and then like 2 minutes later, they're like, all right, cop's gone. It's like, what? Like what?
Yeah, the one that they, like the engine blows and the cops
Yeah,
just like pull
yeah.
over the side of the road, and it's like, okay, they're done.
And then they like stop to play pool. I'm like, what is going? Like, what is this movie? And then like they keep evading one cop at a time. Then there's the cop like in the interceptor or whatever, and like they finally get him. Like the pole falls on him. Then there's the helicopter. They evade the helicopter. Every time there's like they're basically dealing with 1 or 2 cops, and they successfully evade all of them at every point, right?
Yep.
At the very end of the movie, Larry says to Deke, "Hey, Mister, it looks like ain't nothing gonna stop us." And then that's when they drive right into an oncoming train, and their car explodes, and they all die. It's like,
Yep.
wait, what?
To be honest, I kind of like the ending. Again, after we watch Vanishing Point, I really miss these movies that like wrap up the end so well that like just kill them off. Like they just die at the end. That's it. That's the end of the story. Don't need to know more. We're
Like
done.
at least in Vanishing Point, it kind of, sort of, a little bit set up a weird, like they set up a confrontation at the end, right? Here, it's like literally out of nowhere. It's like, oh, we got away, boom. Like
Yeah.
they're almost not able to finish their sentence until they're like, oh no, we're dead.
I really, man, I miss the times that people were making movies and not thinking about sequels or franchises, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel great?
Yeah.
It's like super refreshing, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
not that they're like killing these people off at the end is like refresh. I'm just saying, like, just being like, oh, it stopped, cool. We're not thinking about another movie. We're not going to bring these guys back. Like, we don't have to like factor in if like somebody's contract, like they're going to do more of these. It's like, nope, just dead.
I liked this movie. I think it's probably my least favorite that we've done so far this lap.
Oh, okay, why?
It feels like we've seen this done better, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe it might just be that we're doing so many of them so tightly together. But like to the point where in the trivia, right? Obviously Tarantino loves this movie. I'm looking through the trivia and he selected a scene from this. Like in the movie Jackie Brown, 2 characters are watching this movie. Like this is
Oh,
one
I
of the
didn't know
picks
that.
for his
That's cool.
first Quentin Tarantino Film Fest in Austin, Texas, which was in 1996. Like he loves this movie. It's referenced twice. I'm not expecting the world from any of these, right? Like it's not like I
No.
have these crazy high expectations, but I think because he was so adamant and like because he loves Vanishing Point and I love Vanishing Point, I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna love this movie, and I think maybe it was just like a little too high. I think this is one where like the dynamics don't quite hold up, and I'm not trying to like I don't want to shit on this movie for not being
Yeah.
woke, but like the first thing we see Deke do is like barge in on a woman showering and then like gag her and her daughter. It's like, oh, this is, and we're supposed to be rooting for him. And then she says something
Yeah.
about like, you're not going to rape me. He says something like, I'm not attracted to rape. And I'm like, is that supposed to like, we're okay here? Like it's one of those things where like,
He's
I
not a
understand
raper.
this movie is,
He was trying to say that he's not a raper.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I know this movie is like 50 years old, but I'm still like, there's a little bit here I'm like, ooh, I don't feel good rooting for this guy. Like Larry and Mary are both like assholes too. Like I get they're the kind of the anti-heroes, but it's just like I'm not fully on board with these guys yet.
Yeah, I thought that they were gonna be like the bad guys in this movie from the beginning, and then it takes kind of a turn that they like kind of grow on you. But I really did think that they were going to be the villains of the movie.
You're supposed to root for them, right? But like,
Maybe, maybe you're just rooting for Mary. That's all we're rooting for.
but Mary seems like insane, like on purpose,
Oh,
right?
she's nuts. Yeah. You got me to a good point though. You know what we never see in Fast and the Furious that you just brought up?
What's that?
Showers. Nobody ever takes a shower, and people
Ava
rarely
Mendes
get
comes
wet.
out wet. Monica Fuentes.
Yeah,
remember this
Monica
is the whole
Fuentes.
argument that we've talked about,
Yes.
like whether she's showering or not. I still think she's showering or whatever, but maybe not.
But we don't see too many people like swimming. Like, I mean, they jump the car into the water, but like we see Giselle in a bathing suit. We see them
It
on the
does feel like we
beach.
should have like one where like it's Vin Diesel, his hand against the shower wall, head looking down, contemplative, like water streaming off his head. That's probably like been in every other Vin Diesel movie, right? Like one of those kind of
Yes.
things, right? But
Yeah, like, oh, how am I gonna get out of this hot water? Just like cleanse my soul type thing, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think, and like I kept pulling up connections to other movies, which we talked about before, and we'll talk about again. But I was trying to think, like in terms of Fast and Actions, because I loved your idea when we watched Vanishing Point that Kowalski was like Han, and I was
Yes.
like, who are these people like? And the closest thing I have a connection for two of the three, but not all three.
Go ahead.
Is there anything that immediately pops into your head who these people are like?
I would have to say Larry and Deke remind me most of like Rico and Tego.
Nailed it. Yep.
You two.
They're clearly close, clearly friends, but they also sort of hate each other, it seems.
Yeah, and they'll like give each other a lot of shit.
Yes.
It's like it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Like they definitely need each other. They know that. They're very brotherly, but at the same time it's like they don't like each other too much.
But I was trying to figure out like who, because we don't know enough about Rico and Tego
Yeah.
to know who their Mary is. But like Mary kind of feels like
Go ahead.
almost like I was saying with Kowalski. Like Kowalski is too much of a wild card to be in the Fast and Furious universe. Like Mary seems like too insane.
No,
to be
you know
in the Fast and
exactly
Furious
who
universe.
Mary is.
Roman.
Exactly. Mary's Roman. She's just a girl Roman. Because she's like cracking jokes, fucking with them, like pulling pranks, but also like smart enough to get by, but not the smartest. Like
Yeah.
I think Roman really is who Mary is for sure.
Like early Roman or modern Roman?
I would say earlier Roman.
Okay.
I mean, with superpowers, everybody changes, but yeah, earlier.
Like 2-ish, 2-5-ish.
Two-ish, yeah, like like punch through the window. We could have just opened the door type situation. Like that's a Mary kind of move, right?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Two other things that tie this to other things. You're saying that we never see showers in the Fast and Furious movies. Once again in this movie, they get gas, and I think it was very funny that
Yes.
like as the cop pulls up, they like pull away and they just yank the nozzle out of the thing, and like it's just in their gas tank as they ride away. And also in this movie again, just like in Vanishing Point, they get a flat tire too that they have to fix, right?
Yes. Yeah, flat tires too, man. Definitely how it is. They actually have to fix the whole car, but they don't fix just the flat tire. Doesn't he like fuck up the car when she bites him?
Yeah, because he like steers way off and like ride over rocks basically.
Yeah, and he has to like realign the whole car.
When she oversteers and like the jack falls, like that's definitely
Dude.
a Roman thing too. Like that's Roman shooting the harpoon.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like turn it left a little bit, the other left, and then he's like, and the thing about the jack, because they damaged the car, they need Mary to turn the wheel so they can like align the steering underneath, right?
She falls asleep first, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does, or she pretends like she fell asleep in the car while she's waiting for them to like tell her to steer. She like turns it really quickly, and the jerk from the steering turn causes the car to fall off the jack. It's like supposed to be like, oh, this is scary, right? But at the same time, I was remembering that like all of these like 70s, 80s cars, like the 70s cars, sat so fucking high off the ground. This is scary, but like she didn't kill these guys, right? Like where they were in the middle of the car, like they're not anywhere near a tire. Like she would have maybe clipped like a hand or something.
They look more annoyed than scared.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, but if you try to do this now, right? Like you've been here when I changed my oil and stuff like that. Modern cars are so low, you would crush your face with the car, right? Like it's just like
Yeah.
it's too close to your face, like when you're under there. This has like so much clearance that it's like you'll be fine. Like it will be frightening for sure, but you'd be like you'll be all right.
I do want to make a note that Peter Fonda, who plays the titular Crazy Larry here, will be in our next movie too. By the way,
Oh,
our next
cool.
movie on Tuesday is, I want to say, Alex Ellenon's pick. Let me see if that's right or not. Yes, Alex Ellenon's pick on Tuesday. Our next movie that we're going to be doing, we'll talk about this again at the end, is the Cannonball Run. We're finally doing that classic.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
not a Peter Fonda movie, but Peter Fonda is in it. I think as like chief biker. So he'll come back. I think that movie is like 7 to 10 years after this, I want to say.
That's very cool, dude. We're chaining these together. You
Yeah, I know, right? I also feel like they're kind of when you're in these kind of movies, it's all these kind of movies in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Fair.
So when they're at the grocery store early on, they do like the whole like call home and like ask for the man of the house or whatever, and that's the signal to talk to the guy.
Yes.
This guy here doesn't think we're serious. He thinks we're a couple of butterflies. And I wonder if
Yep.
Tarantino named Butterfly after this insult, because like Butterfly is presumed not like I don't know that we ever really know her name in the movie, but like her name's not Butterfly. Like that's just what Jungle Julia calls her on the radio.
Yes.
I mean, I guess it could be, but like I never thought it was Butterfly.
I'm 1,000% sure that her character's named Butterfly because of that line in this movie, considering they mentioned that movie twice.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely makes sense. But yes, I picked up on that too. The butterfly reference was really funny to me.
And then my next note is that when Larry goes out to his car and he sees Dirty Mary lying in there, her feet are just dangling out the window. It's like, no wonder Tarantino loves this movie. It's just a woman's bare feet out the window.
Yep, it definitely is.
The only reason she tags along, the only reason that she winds up dying because she's in the car, is because Larry slept with her the previous night and he left without saying goodbye. And like later she says like he didn't leave her a clean towel either. I get my question to you. Do you think like are they in a relationship? Are they just like is it a one night stand? Are they somewhere in between? Like what is the relationship in your eyes between Mary and Larry?
I think that it was more of a one night stand. Like, they know each other, but it was definitely like a one night stand.
Especially since like every guy in this movie, and this is not like I don't want to keep like saying that we're classifying
not
her as a
shaming
whore,
her.
but like
Yes.
her character role in this movie is like she seems like the kind of woman who has slept with every dude in town.
And then she, like, left and went to the city and comes back, and everybody's like, oh, like, she's back now.
And her name in the title, like this is again the lack of characterization, but like that's exactly the kind of movie. Like we know from the jump from the title that she's dirty and he's crazy, right? And we don't even know that Deke exists, but like it's the barest of characterizations. But yeah, like I don't think that they're together. But the way that the log line says like two lovers, blah 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 blah, I was like, oh, like that's not what I got at all. Like I don't think that they're lovers. And then also once again excludes Deke completely.
Yes. We also
Weird.
get to a weird dynamic where, like, it seems like Deke is really the right person for her, which is the same situation that we got in Two Lane Blacktop, right?
Yeah.
You eventually get to a point where they're like, okay, like, the other two should be together, but they're not. So yeah, it was weird. It was very reminiscent of Two Lane Blacktop for me.
But I also do wonder if that's just because it's like he's just somebody like a listening ear in like her time of frustration. You know what I mean? Just like it could be anybody in that situation. Like,
Proximity.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very, very cool fast nection here. We get to see a guy try to stop them by lifting a drawbridge.
Yes, and they once again this reminded me of 1 and 2 because they crashed through the gate like the whatever you call them like the gates that like
Yes.
stop in front of a train track like in 1.
Yes.
But it's also like the opening race in 2.
Yeah, so that I was laughing. I was like, is this guy the Tej in this movie that he's controlling the thing to let them jump it? And when they were building that ramp in like the beginning in like the first scene, I don't know why they're building like a ramp, a literal ramp that's like built for a car. I was like, oh, cool. So we have to go over that ramp soon. Like this is the worst foreshadowing ever, right? Like it's just like there's a ramp, the car is sitting right behind it, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna jump the car over that ramp. Cool.
Well, it's like in plays, there's Chekhov's gun, where like if you see in a play that there's like a gun on stage, like it better go off. Like somebody better shoot the gun by the end of the movie, because like otherwise, why is there a gun in the movie? Like why is there a gun on stage? Here, it's like we call like Kowalski's ramp. Like if you see them building a ramp, like car better fucking hit that ramp. Otherwise, like why are you building a ramp in a car movie?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking the whole time.
Did the way Peter Fonda speak remind you of anyone?
Ooh. If anyone, it gotta be Christopher Walken.
Oh, I was thinking Stuntman Mike.
Oh, that's probably
Just
truer.
like his confidence and just like his sort of bravado. But I was hearing a lot of Stuntman Mike in Peter Fonda's delivery.
I thought you were talking about like his literal like pitch and
Pitched also, like it sounds totally like it, but I just feel like his cadence and the way that he's accenting words sounds a lot like Stuntman Mike to me.
yeah, I can see it for sure. I'm sure Tarantino kind of stole some of that. That's for sure.
What's kind of funny to me is that in this movie they have this '68 Chevy Impala, right? And
Yes.
they go through most of the movie. Then part of their plan is they're going to go to this flea market, pick up the '69 Dodge Charger, switch cars, get away, right?
Yes.
Almost immediately in both cars, they like fuck up the car. Like within the first
Immediately.
5 or 10 minutes driving the Impala, he like tries to thread a needle between these two semis and like he cracks the windshield badly, and they even like make a joke about it like, do you have $80 to replace this? But like it doesn't matter, like they're never going to go back to that car. And then later at the flea market, not only do they run through a cop car's door, he like swerves, like he hits a truck and he hits all this like he just can't, like, he seems to be a really good driver who has the Kowalski thing where, like, he can't not brake. Like, he just always has to be go, go, go.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was really funny too. And it's a weird premise of the movie that they robbed this grocery store so that they could build a NASCAR. And like that's such a weird concept to me, like thinking about this today. Like imagine if like you and I were like, okay, like if we start this business and it goes big, like we'll just make a NASCAR. It's like it doesn't feel like you could ever do that in the modern world, right? Like he's like, yeah, they won't let me race NASCAR because like I don't have a car, and it's like, oh fuck, that's so crazy to me that you could just like build it and be like, I'm a NASCAR driver now.
Although it does kind of feel that way in Drive, right? That, like, Bryan Cranston is going to Albert Brooks. He's like, look, I got the driver. We just need the money for the car.
Yeah,
It's similar. I don't know if it's the exact same thing, but I think it's also kind of just like a. I don't know. That would be like Gosling saying, like, all I need is the car and then I'm good. There's kind of a middleman there, but I think it's a similar thing.
yeah, it is. You're right. That's interesting. It's just like it's such a weird concept to me that you're like so in control of like the idea that it's like open signups essentially is
Yeah.
what I was like lost on. Like, can you imagine if you or I were just like, yeah, we're gonna be a NASCAR driver tomorrow. Like, my dad's rich. I'm just gonna be a NASCAR driver. You can do that, but there's some formality of it, like that you're gonna have to like go through a couple steps, not just like buy the car and show up.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what those steps are, but I'm assuming there's some kind of intermediary steps.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, okay, it's like get the car, get it approved by them. You could
Right.
probably join a team that already exists. You donate a bunch of money to that team. You sponsorships, greasing type situation.
There's another very big fast connection that when you mentioned before, when she bites him and they veer off and they damage the car, they go into a field of horses, and I was like, ooh, Dom Toretto's Mustangs. His
Yes.
favorite Mustangs.
Yeah, yeah. These are the horses on all over his house, right?
They also, this is the first of two scenes here where there's like an insult. Like, he keeps calling her Dingleberry, which is kind of a funny word. And like at the end, Deke's like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, he could just call you anything. That's just the word he's choosing to use. Like, he's making fun of you,
Yes.
yes, but like, don't be offended by that word. It's just a word, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's two really funny lines that I wrote down that I can't believe have not
What?
been like regurgitated everywhere. But at one
What?
point, like after that, he says, after she bites him, he says, if you try a stunt like that again, I'm gonna braise your tits.
No, no, no. He says braid your tits.
Braid?
Braid them. Like he's gonna tie them together. Like tie your balls in a knot.
I thought braise like grill them, like fry them, like just.
No, I thought he said braid your tits. Like I'm gonna take them and tie them together. Like that's which either one is hilarious to me. Braid your tits was a good one, and I don't know how that didn't.
It is braid. Okay, yeah, I googled it. You try something like that, and I'll braid your tits. Okay, but that's still either way. That's like a great turn of phrase. Like,
Yeah, like you guys, with your fantasy baseball league always have get your shit pushed in.
tits lit, shit pushed in. Yep,
Yeah, tits lit, and it's like
tits braided.
yeah, gonna braid your tits over here.
When they drop her off to get the supplies and they burn rubber and leave her there, and she
Go
took
ahead.
the map, the line there,
I have this
every
one too.
bone in her crotch, that's what I'm going to break. Not every bone in her body, every bone in her crotch. Which again is just characterizing her as like the town whore, but it's a very funny, like very specific threat. It's like,
It's
I'm
so
going to break
weird.
every bone in your crotch.
I have both of these written down, and they're like the only two lines I have written down from this movie. It was like I was like, I break every bone in your crotch. Like, what the fuck is he talking about?
I wrote down one or two other, like, there's the next line that I wrote down is like when they were being chased by the cop, right, and they like again thread the needle between those cars, and one car flips, and because the car flips, the cop has to veer off, and the cops fly through the billboard, and they're like, what did that billboard say? And the billboard says, there's a name for people who don't wear seatbelts, and then in big letters, stupid. And the cops are fine. But then we cut to inside the car, and Larry says to Mary, hey, stupid, when are you going to do your seatbelt? She's like, there's nothing you could do that, like, is going to make me wear a seatbelt. I just think it's very funny that, like, they say, maybe he says it because of the billboard, maybe it was just, like, he's just mean to her in general, but, like, them saying, flying through the billboard is like, calling people stupid for not wearing the seatbelts, and then he literally calls her stupid, like,
Yes.
hey, stupid, put on your seatbelt.
I always forget. I'm always like so taken aback by these older movies with people like that not wearing your seatbelt was a thing. Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is something that like I totally forget, but we were alive in the generation of like grandparents who will be like, I don't wear a fucking seatbelt.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? You know what I mean? But it's just like such a weird dynamic that we're thinking about. So strange that there was a time like even the most like badass, big, buff, burly, manly men nowadays are like, okay, put your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Like It's not this like macho thing anymore to not wear your seatbelt, and it's so weird to see her be like, "I'm never putting my seatbelt on. Like you can't scare me in this vehicle." And they're like off-road driving and like stunt driving. So
Yeah.
put your fucking seatbelt on.
The only movie thing that I can think of that it's even like remotely similar to that, and I think it's close but not exactly right, is that like in old movies, people just used to be like smoking cigarettes, just like because that's what people did. They just, and people still
Yes.
do, right? But now that they want to make sure, like basically, be the difference you want to see in the world. So like people in movies, although not really, people in movies still sometimes don't wear seatbelts. I'm like, why are you not wearing a seatbelt? Like, what is that? Just put a seatbelt. Like, I know that you're not actually driving a car, but like,
Yes.
put a seatbelt on. Like, what do you? But like, people don't like you. I think you're not allowed. Like, I think it's something insane. Like, if you have a character smoking a cigarette, and that's not part of the plot, like if they're just like a, oh, he's
Yes.
just like a dirtbag who just like drinks and smokes or whatever, like it's automatically like PG-13 or something like that, because like they just don't want kids to see people smoking cigarettes.
It's a great way to do it.
It's a safety thing, right? Like I
No, it
kind
makes
of
so much
wish.
sense because you get accustomed to seeing something. So
Yeah.
if you normalize something in your brain with images, you'd be like, "Oh, it's very normal that all these people are smoking." But if you don't see it all the time, when you see it, you're like, "Oh, there's like a weird stigma about it. Like, why would you ever be doing that? I don't see this ever."
I do wonder why, you watch a car scene and like these people are just having a conversation in the car and like they're not wearing the seatbelt, and like my brain picks up and I'm like, oh, something bad is gonna happen here because he's not wearing a seatbelt. It's like, no, he's just not wearing a seatbelt. Like it's not like they're gonna get in a car accident and he's gonna fly through the window. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, the actor's not wearing the seatbelt, but like just put it on.
It's funny, man. It cracks me up. You know what I miss when I was watching this? On a
What's that?
kind of similar note, I was like watching this, they were getting the gas, and the numbers were turning. And I was like, man, I really miss all these old analog machines. Like everything's so digital now. I had a really a weird sense of nostalgia for like, we watched in the last one we had Tarantino's jukebox. I like jukeboxes. Now everywhere has like wacky touch tunes or whatever, which is like
Yep.
definitely not as cool. It obviously sounds a ton better and stuff like that, but like it's not as cool. These old gas pumps, I was like, man, I haven't seen a gas pump that had like turning numbers in forever, man, and it just sucks.
Yeah.
It's
It
not
was a
it's
bummer.
not useful. It's
No.
worse.
It's objectively worse and probably less accurate and just
Yeah.
slower in like every way, but it's still cool.
It's still cool, right? It's just like, oh damn, like there's gonna be a whole generation of kids that like just be like, no idea what that is.
On a totally different note, do you feel like this is a few too many police resources for a single robbery? Like they basically
Yes.
have an entire county's worth of cops and the
It's
helicopter.
like a 20 cop cars essentially, right? Like at least 20.
I mean, who knows what numbers are, at least 20, but like they're saying, numbers between like single digits and like the mid 30s, so like maybe up to 30 or 40 cops. Like they're blocking off like so many exits. Like, why? Like, I feel like we don't have enough of and I know that the movie doesn't care, and that's the point of the movie. Like, it doesn't care what they people like. It's just like, gonna be a chase movie. But like,
Yes.
when at the end, Franklin, who's the guy in the helicopter, says to Mary, like, I know you're a parole jumper. You're gonna get this. You're gonna get that. Whatever. You got to get back here. Whatever. Like, he's taunting her. He's like, I know who you are. I know that you've been in trouble with the law. Whatever. I kind of want to know more about them, but like that's not this kind of movie, but like it feels like they have this like storied history. Like I kind of want almost like the Kowalski brief flashbacks where like it's them on the run from something else. Like it seems like
Who?
this is like Franklin has like this long-standing history that he's been chasing them
Yeah.
forever, but like we don't get any of that.
Because the other guy too, like when he calls him, he's like, I hope you catch him. And he's like, why? And he's like, because like you won't feel good about it when you're done. So there is some kind of like weird history there for sure.
I guess that's supposed to be enough, which it probably is, but it's still the kind of thing where I'm like, oh, I wish I knew just like a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why not. But I mean, hour and 30-minute movie, so that's what we
Yeah.
get.
The flip side of the coin, it feels like they're planning like that entire like inch thick book of the route to take to steal from one grocery store feels like too much there too.
Yeah, and how much money did they really have at this grocery store, right? Like,
And like they make a joke, they're like, price of groceries went up again, and then that's it. Like, but it's not a huge safe. I mean, you could fit a lot of money in that safe, but like,
it gives him
I don't
probably
know.
like, and she seems to be taking the cash every day, right? Because he's like,
And she's like, I'm ready to do it today or whatever. He's like,
it's
oh, we got a whole
10:30,
yeah,
time to get the cash. They're cleaning it out every day.
maybe a couple grab.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, factor in that like this is back in a day where everybody paid cash for everything. So like, the till was going to be a lot greater. There's no like credit card receipts or something like that. But even still, it's like how much were groceries in this thing? If a beer is $1.80,
Right.
if you bought groceries for a
No,
week,
I think that like the 3 drinks they have is $1.80.
okay, so there you go, even worse, right?
Exactly.
Like if it was like a Sunday and
Yeah.
everybody bought all their groceries for the week on the same day, what is your groceries going to be like $50?
Again, we don't know this, but like in Ocean's 11, when they rob, it's like it's on fight night, it's on a weekend, it's like
Yes.
this. Like they lay out the reasons why like this is the night to do the take because like it's gonna have like on a normal night there's like 100 million or 150 million. Like tonight there's gonna be like 300 or whatever. Like there's an urgency to like why it has to happen on this night. Here, it's
Yes.
just like oh yeah, like here's the grocery store, like let's rob it. Which is cool. Like I like that, but like I think modern movie telling, storytelling, movie making is like give me any reason why about any of
I
this.
think that audiences have gotten more sophisticated, and I think we've
Sure.
talked about this before, and it's like you have to give, like, if you made a movie like this today, everybody would be like, why the fuck did they just why did they pick this day? Why did they pick this grocery store? And like the audience wants to know about it. People are gonna write on Letterbox today, like, didn't fucking make any sense. Like, this is a stupid ass thing for them to do, as opposed to just watching the movie being like, oh, that was a cool car chase.
Right.
Like,
I think that's why, again, like I'm not holding that against this movie because it is 50 years old and it's not trying to aspire to be anything huge. It's just a B movie or whatever. But like, it's those little things where like with Vanishing Point, like we know the stakes, we know where he has to get
mm-hmm.
to, we know what's in it. Like even like the side bet about like I need to get there by X time, though I can get there by Y time or whatever. Right. Like
Mm-hmm.
all those different things. Like we know, like not that we know a ton, but we know enough. It's just like okay, so he's capturing okay, so that's his wife and his daughter. Okay, but who's this guy? Like, is there a history there? No, there's no history there. Like, why this grocery store? Like, I don't. It's just one piece of information anywhere. I'd be like, cool, okay, done.
This makes
But
sense,
like,
yeah.
but just like, hey, this one grocery store that we pass by, like, is that the town they live in? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not, right? Because like, why would you rob your own grocery store? Like, wouldn't you go like a town over or something?
Not a bad thing. Just like a give me any bit of anything and I'd be happy. It's just, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah,
I do like when the helicopter is at the end, basically like street level with them, and one of them says, "I believe he wants us to pull over." Like, just pretty
yeah,
funny. The only other note that I have, the only other connection, this is again to Vanishing Point, is that I think they're going to San Francisco too. Like they mentioned something about San Francisco, and I was like, oh, but like they might not be. I don't know.
yeah. I was gonna ask you, what's the setting of this movie? Like, what place,
I
town,
have no
state?
idea. Actually, no, I have. I got a picture of the car. License plate was blue, I think. I actually wonder if it's on the wiki. Hold on. No, I can't tell. Maybe no. I have no idea. Possibly Oklahoma. It feels like the Midwest, but
It
I don't
does.
know.
Yeah, I don't know either, dude. I like the colloquialisms, as in kiss off.
Yes.
I think that's
K
very
I
cool.
S S O F F.
Kiss off is really interesting. I can't believe we don't. Was that a really big thing back then? Did people actually say it? Is it like for the movie? Is it like regional? I want to learn everything about the etymology of kiss
Mm-hmm.
off. Also, unload, like to like relax, like you should unload, but she also uses it to mean to like scram, right? Like,
Yeah.
I like these like niche word type things. And then he reads the sign in the bar that says like no risque women, and he reads it risk Q. And I was like, what the fuck did he just say? And he's like, yeah, no risk Q women. And he's like, that means you or something. So like he like knew what the word meant, but then pronounced it like way wrong.
Yeah.
It was very strange. And the last thing that I noticed is the cop that goes to get the car with that's the interceptor, right, with the bigger engine.
Yeah.
When he's driving in the car, he looked so much like Channing Tatum to me.
Oh, I didn't notice that, but I believe it.
Yeah, he looked like he could have been like Channing's young dad in his first role. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
he looked very very similar.
I'm trying to think now. I can't remember who it was, but Deke was giving me flashes. Like I'm like, oh, I could easily recast him as somebody modern too. I don't remember who it was.
So it was a strange feeling there.
I could see Mary as like
Go ahead, say it. Come on. There's one real answer here.
it was Anna Faris. I'm thinking.
Oh no, I was gonna go Uma, right? Like
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, Uma for yeah,
for like Tarantino-y reasons, like.
sure.
But yeah, Anna Faris. Anna Faris. What's her name? The other one, the one that I like a lot.
From what?
Parks and Rec and everything else we watched. That
Oh, Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza would be a great Mary.
I can see that.
I think she kind of plays that character in Dirty Grandpa, right? Like it's essentially this kind of like I'm one step ahead of you, but also not very smart and like just gonna
Right.
cause chaos anyways.
Oh, I was thinking. I remember now. Deke kind of looks like the guy who plays Hans Landa in *Inglourious Bastards*, Christoph Waltz. Just sort of has the
Okay.
same kind of face. So some trivia about this, and I'm actually reading the Wikipedia now, so there's some more stuff there. But so the collision at the end of the movie, where the car crashes into the train, they had rigged an engineless Dodge Charger filled with explosives to a towing cable that they ran underneath the train tracks. The towing
Okay.
cable was hooked up to a pulley system and then to the train, which pulled the Dodge Charger into it. The crash and the explosion were actually two separate shots, one of the actual collision, and the train was accompanied by a small explosion, and the second was a larger explosion, the wrecked Charger, staged with the train passing in the background of the shots.
That's cool.
And apparently that clip was also used in a TV show, the opening credits of a TV show called The Fall Guy, which I think is kind of funny and kind of cool.
Yeah, so what did they just use the same clip? Like,
I guess so.
it's like Shutterstock images.
Yeah.
They just like use
Just
the
like with a watermark on it, just like Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. Like, oh no, it's the Fall Guy. Show the Fall Guy. Also, apparently in the poster for this movie, behind Larry and Mary, there's an image of a Dodge Charger engulfed in flames. So it's like, oh, I guess that's
so they
going to
like
happen.
ruined it for you.
Although, like the car on Death Proof's poster isn't in the movie either. Who knows? But yeah. So the second getaway car is a '69 Dodge Charger RT with a 440 cubic V8. Its Chrysler factory color is quote citron yellow, like citronella, but with a yellow citron space.
Did
yellow.
you like the color of this car?
I think it's very cool. I think it also
It's like iconic, right? It feels like it's like a time capsule. Like it stands out. It's not something that like I would pick for a normal car, but on this car, I was like, this is really cool.
it also reminds me of the last car that I had, where like in certain sunlight it looked blue, in certain sunlight it looked purple, in certain sunlight it looked black. Like here, it's like, oh, this kind of looks yellow, kind of looks green,
Green,
kind of looks
yeah.
like that neon in between. Like, yeah,
Like I'm never a huge like neon car fan. Like that's never the color I would pick. I really enjoyed the white Challenger that we saw in Death Proof and
Yes.
Vanishing Point. I think that was really cool. But like when I saw it in green, I was like, damn, I kind of like it in green like this. This is pretty interesting.
it's very cool.
Yeah.
The black stripe on the side was not a factory offered racing stripe, but one painted on by the crew.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
it's a nice touch, though. I think
Dude,
it looks nice.
so in a grand, more overview of doing this lap, I always knew that like Dodges were cool, Chargers and
Yep.
Challengers are cool. We watch Fast and the Furious and Dom has a Charger and you're like, oh, that's really interesting, cool nod, whatever. I didn't realize that like the Challenger and the Charger are like the two cars of all of these movies. So as much as I thought that this was kind of like a unique individual thing, and it is for Dom in the Fast and the Furious, right? That he has like a Charger, like
Yeah.
he's American muscle. This is so cool. It's actually like really bland as a choice. That it's not this like very interesting choice to have because it was in every single one of these movies. Dom's dad had to be like the most normal car guy ever, right? Like it's just like super unfascinating. He's like, oh yeah, dude, like it's fucking Vanishing Point, it's fucking Dirty Mary Crazy Larry, like it's every one of these. Like Dodge was the fucking car.
Wait, do you think
man.
that Dom's dad is Quentin Tarantino?
Ooh.
Maybe when Tarantino. So you know how Tarantino puts himself in his movies for no reason? What if he directs 10 as well as is predicted, and he inserts himself as Dom's dad, and he just has the quotes from Death Proof, and it's just referencing all the same movies, and that's why, like, exactly what you're saying, but it's just Tarantino in the movie as himself, essentially, but as Dom's dad,
God.
delivering the lines.
Can you imagine Tarantino being Dom's dad in this thing? He's like the fucking Charger, man. Like, just, he's just like staring at Letty's feet and stuff. If Dom has a
Yeah.
foot fetish in 10, that will be really interesting.
We know it's genetic.
Yeah.
And so the craziest trivia about this movie is
'Kay.
that so Vic Morrow, who plays Franklin, said he insisted. Do you know Vic Morrow? Have you heard of this guy? Do you know why he's sort of known? Okay.
Nope.
So he insisted on $1 million life insurance policy before he'd film any scenes in the helicopter, and said that
Amen.
if he wouldn't be insured, he'd walk off the picture. They granted his wish. When asked why, he said, "I always had a premonition that I'll be killed in a helicopter crash." Flash
Okay.
forward to 1982. He is known for being decapitated on set by a helicopter blade while filming Twilight Zone the movie.
Fuck, dude.
So apparently, I did not know this part of it, but he and two kids died on set. Another kid was decapitated. Another kid got crushed by the helicopter. The helicopter's main rotor, I don't know if the helicopter crashed or the rotor broke off or something, but he died on set while making the movie. Like, there's very few times that someone has been, like, killed on set. Like Brandon Lee, I think in The Crow, maybe, or in some movie, Brandon Lee
Okay.
got shot. Like they thought it was a blank, but it was a real bullet. Like very, very rarely in the history of Hollywood has like somebody died
On
in
set.
effectively a stunt, right? Or like what's
Yes.
not like whatever. But yeah, Vic Morrow is known for being decapitated. Like the guy in the helicopter here, the guy that's like their main adversary, like 8 years later died while making a movie.
And he had a premonition, and he made them take out a life insurance policy for this one. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't trust fucking helicopters, man. Oh, have I talked to you about this before?
No, but I think that tracks. It tracks.
You mean just me, personality
Yeah.
wise? One of my coworkers was going to the Grand Canyon, right? And if you ask anybody that's like ever like, I have another
Ask any
friend that's
racer, any real racer.
any real racer, yeah. Like I have another friend that's in the army, and I was like telling him that I also don't trust helicopters. He's like, same, and he was like, I spent way too much time in a helicopter in the army. I don't fucking trust those things. Like I've been in one that was like well maintained and like army grade. That fucking scares me. I know that that shit's like about to break. So we were talking about one friend. He was like, yeah, I'm going to like the Grand Canyon. Like we were thinking about taking a helicopter ride. I was like, not me, man. He's like, oh, but like it's only like $200. I was like, that's precisely why I'm not going in that helicopter. Like like that seems vastly underpriced for what like I would be comfortable in the helicopter if it was like 10 grand a ride, right? You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh, they must have to do a lot of
Well, they
fucking
have like Uber
maintenance.
Chopper in Vegas, and they
Yeah,
have Uber
fuck
Chopper in
that.
New York, where it's like $50. It's like what?
That's what I'm saying. You know how terrifying that is? Like that's way too cheap. A tank of gas is $50. Like you're gonna put me in this $50 fucking helicopter? No way. Like I
Yeah.
want the most expensive helicopter, and I might feel okay. Like how much you paying this pilot? Like a fucking Uber driver? Like he's not getting paid nearly enough to be controlling that death machine. Absolutely not. I'm with him. Even though I hope I'm hopefully never gonna get decapitated, but like I ain't going in helicopter. Like life flight is the only helicopter ride that I'd be happy to take. That's it.
What's that?
Life flight's like when they come to save you with the helicopter. It's like a helicopter
Oh.
ambulance. Like that's the only one that I would ever want to see and be like, thank you.
Oh, that actually reminds me. It's not a helicopter. I've never been in a helicopter. I was in a private plane once when we flew to Vegas one time, which is another story. But when I was interning at a newspaper in college,
Yes.
and they got this thing that like there's this terrible accident on a highway near our house, like near the office, whatever.
Yeah.
They sent whatever the health helicopter to basically air vac them out, right? And so I go
Yeah.
with the photographer. We can get the story later, but we like the photographer needs to be there soon to
Now.
like
Yeah.
get the picture of the helicopter in the middle of the highway, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, can I go with you? He's like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And we're driving down the thing, like we know roughly the mile marker or whatever, right? He's like, just keep your eye out. And then like I will never forget, like just like we basically pass a clearing of trees, and like you're looking like it's again sort of Tarantino-esque, this movie-esque, where like the one eastbound highway is
Yeah.
like lower and the westbound's higher at this point. And I remember like looking left and just like up the hill was just like this green helicopter in the middle of the highway. I was like,
Yep.
there it is. Like it's impossible to miss, but I was like, that's insane. Like you just don't see that, right? And so like
Yeah.
the photographer like did this like really crazy like U-turn and like drove over the median, like a grassy median or whatever, and like it's crazy like just to see a helicopter where a helicopter is not supposed to be, like in the middle of a highway. Crazy.
It's nuts, man. Yeah, it's just like a really strange thing. I have a friend that's a helicopter nurse. He says it's like super super crazy. He's like in California. The stories that I've heard from him about it is really nuts. It's like they're like essentially like lumberjacks, right? Because like a lot of the times like the people that need helicopters in California, like there's like mountains and shit. They'll like life flight them in, like fly them into like wherever, and then they still have to go like hike 7 miles to go like find this person, right? With like all
Yes.
their gear. It's like a really crazy job. Again, but no helicopters for me. Fuck
No
helicopters.
helicopters. Thank you. Please and thank you. So from the wiki page, so this movie was almost entirely shot in California, so maybe it's California? I
Okay.
don't know. At the end of the movie, the charger that crashes into the train was not in the original script. The novel upon which the film was based ended with the robbers colliding with a tanker truck. But as the location offered a maze of railroad crossings, the ending was changed to incorporate the collision. Hoff, who is the director, John Hough, Hough, said the lead characters did not die in the script. Quote, I did that myself without asking or telling anybody. Oh, he just like was just like, no, we're gonna change anything and everybody's gonna die. Consequently, we would not be able to make a sequel because the leading characters were all killed. But a statement I really wanted to make was speed kills. If you're gonna drive 100 miles an hour, you'll get yourself killed. So you better not speed.
It's like a mother's. It's a mad.
Yeah.
It's a very long mad advertisement here.
Just like Kowalski, like we talked about in the Vanishing Point, like he could save so much trouble and so many minor collisions just by like braking at stop signs, like not even stopping, just like slowing
Yeah.
down and seeing if there's
Rolling
like
stop.
a fucking truck coming.
Yep.
Although I do really love, so there's the Interceptor we talked about a couple times, right? And like
Yeah.
the Charger, like they T-bone that truck and the truck spins and flips and it's on its head or whatever,
Yeah.
and they drive off, and then the Interceptor cop pulls up next to the guy and is like, "Did a Charger do this to you?" The guy's like, "I guess, yeah, probably. It went that way." He's like, "Cool, thanks." And the cop drives off. He's like, "Hey, what do you like? What do you want me to do here?" Like, I think that's so funny. Like, that's maybe the funniest moment in the movie because the cop's just like, "I don't got time for you, buddy. I gotta go hunt these guys down. Like, sorry that your shit's fucked up, but like, I gotta go."
Exactly. Maybe, I guess it was a helicopter. Like, yeah.
So apparently, this was a surprise sleeper hit at the box office.
Interesting.
Or no, maybe rentals. I don't know if it maybe just it earned $12.1 million in rentals, making it Fox's most successful film of the year.
Weird.
Peter Fonda said the movie made, quote, a shit pile of money, more money than any film Dennis Hopper ever made. He added, quote, I couldn't believe that so many moviegoers had seen the film 4 or 5 times. I could understand them seeing Easy Rider 4 or 5 times, or maybe even The Hired Hand, but why Dirty Mary Crazy Larry? Heck, I was even embarrassed by The Tide? Title, maybe? Maybe it's a typo.
Yeah, title.
Nevertheless, the film established Fonda as a draw on the exploitation circuit, and most of his films over the next few years were action movies, which I'm guessing is also probably why he pops up in the Cannonball Run, which might be a comedy? I don't know.
Yeah, Cannonball Run's a little bit of a comedy. At least I thought it is. I mix that one and Midnight Run up a lot. My dad
I
likes
think Midnight
Run
Run's
too.
not a comedy. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There's two of them, and I always confuse. Like, I've seen both with my dad, and I know that he likes one more, and I don't remember which one is which and which one is a comedy and which.
Oh,
Yeah.
because I was saying to you that when we were doing Edge of Tomorrow, that the guy who directed Edge of Tomorrow and like has written a bunch of the movies, like Doug Liman, is remaking the Cannonball Run. When I clicked on that, that was a comedy. So I think it's a
Okay.
comedy, but
That
I
would
don't know
make
for
sense.
sure. Edgar Wright said this film, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, influenced Baby Driver. He said, quote, he always felt sorry for the actor Adam Rourke, who plays Deke. He's in the movie for the entire thing. You assume in the movie that Adam Rourke is going to die at some point, but he's right there till the end. So it should be really called Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, and Deke. Why does this guy get left off the title? He's been there the whole time.
These right with us, man.
Yeah.
Tracks. It works for me. I'm with you, buddy.
I do feel like we don't have room in this lap unless we like bump something or do another or something. But like Baby Driver is another one that I feel like maybe it's kind of like in that Death Proof thing, right? Like maybe we have to figure out a way to do do Baby Driver because it doesn't feel as old school. I guess it does in some ways.
No, it doesn't. It's way more modern.
But like there was that list like where we pulled a bunch of movies from. Like
Yeah.
it was that list of like the 10 movies. Like so this thing on Letterboxd, Edgar Wright's Car Land Top 10 Car Chase Movies. He curated a list of classic car movies that influenced Baby Driver, shown at the BFI in June 2017. And basically, spoilers for some of the lap, but like here's the movies, and we're going to do a lot of these. I was also thinking like we've got to be near the end of the lap. No, we're like halfway through the lap. Like we have
Yes.
so many more movies. But anyway,
It's fun. I kind of like it though. I'm enjoying it.
because these are all like fun movies.
They're all fun, and we needed to like we're at a point where we needed to cover these. Just like
Yes.
get just like to table them, get them out of the way. It's gonna change our next lap's viewing of
For sure.
of Fast and Furious for sure. So
I was also thinking in a similar way, like if there are, like there's the one that we keep saying, Better Luck Tomorrow, right? Where it's like, this is
Yes.
the one movie of all the movies that we have not covered yet. That's the one. I wonder if there are more like that like, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are, where it's like, okay, we're going to do a lap where like all the movies, like basically our homework. It's like, we're doing all these, like we have this as the baseline. I don't know that there are more, but maybe. So here's the list, Edgar Wright's list. So To Live and Die in L.A., Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Freebie and the Bean, The Italian Job, the original one, not that Angelina Jolie shit, as Death Proof said, The Blues Brothers, Smokey and the Bandit, Bullet, The French Connection, The Driver, and Vanishing Point. Those are all movies like either that we're covering or we have covered or in the vein of what we're covering, right? And so
Yeah.
like I do feel like because Baby Driver does not feel like Death Proof where it's from the era, but it does feel inspired by, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know either, dude.
I think that's all I got on the wiki. So apparently it's a huge success. People love this movie. You know, going back to me saying that I didn't like it as much as others. Like I wonder if I would love it more or like it less if I hadn't watched this. Because I feel like it's working both in the movie's favor and against it that I've seen so many others. You know what I mean? Like
I
seeing a
agree.
lot of similar stuff, but it's also like, oh, I understand where all this is coming from and why this is happening.
I kind of like watching them in this grouping. I think that it's giving me more to think about. You know what I mean? Like you kind of put it in the era.
Yeah.
So It's a little bit more interesting for me.
Yeah, I think so too. Any other thoughts about Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry before we...
No, I think it's cool. If you haven't seen it and you liked Vanishing Point or you like any of these other types of movies, you should give it a shot. It's a quick watch. It was fun.
Yeah, it's not streaming anywhere for free, but they have recently, in the last like 5 or 10 years, I think, remastered it. So like it's out on DVD and out on Blu-ray and everything like that. So if you want to see it, it's not hard to find. It's just not like on Netflix or something.
Give it a shot, man. I think it's cool. It was a good afternoon watch for me, for sure.
Yeah. So next week, Joe, we got 2 episodes, of course. We mentioned already that the first episode, Tuesday's episode, is Alex's Patreon pick. It's the Cannonball Run.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Sunday, we're doing something that's not a movie. There's no real homework to do. It's similar-ish to the Nas Boost, but not a Nas Boost. It's something that we've done something like this before, but no homework for Sunday. But it's going to be a little bit of a surprise on
If you
Sunday.
join in to the
Oh, yeah,
viewing
that's Sunday.
party,
Yes.
we'll tell you what we were up to, what we recorded.
Yes. So this Sunday, if you're still listening, this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, we will send a link to watch Tokyo Drift with us as we prepare for that to record that next week. But
Yeah.
Cannonball Run for Tuesday, and then something special for next Friday. And then after that is Tokyo Drift. But join us, like you said, I'm glad you brought that up. I made a note. Didn't even read the note. But Tokyo Drift Family Watch Party, Sunday, May 3rd, 9 p.m. Eastern. For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/toofast2forever, or at Too Fast, Too Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at toofast2forever.com. Get 2 picks for the price of 1. Quarantine Special.
Subscribe to my
toofast2forever.com.
OnlyFans.
Come back next week for the Cannonball Run and a special secret episode for now. And check out all 87 episodes wherever you listen to podcasts.
Shout out to
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And we'll see you next time right here on Too Fast, Too Forever. Peace out, you anus
Peace.
pieces.